Are the boys ready?
Everybody looks ready. Okay, thank you very much for joining us on Wednesday, December 17th for the Select Board meeting. We are being recorded, and if you could rise for the Pledge of
We
Allegiance.
have binders today.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could you folks while we're wearing sweaters? Okay.
We need some new decos next year.
Okay. Before we get started, I'll just pass the microphone over to David just to say why we're in our festive holiday wear.
No, we're in our festive holiday wear. We started this tradition back in 2020, just in memory of our former colleague and friend Don Haas. This was a holiday that was near and dear to him, and he loved to spread joy and loved to make folks laugh. So this is year 6, and hopefully year 6 of to 6 more years of making folks smile and bringing joy to the faces of all those joining us online and in the room. So thank you.
Thank you, David. Diane, would you mind muting one of our participants? We will start with the recognition of our retiring fire captain, Joseph Gambale. Chief's here. There he is. We've started, Chief, so we're ready for you if you are. Come on up. No, you're not. You didn't.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
We're here to acknowledge Captain Joe Gambale. He's retiring from the Swampscott Fire Department. You can see his crew back there with him. They're quite emotional around the fire station these days about Joe leaving. We miss everyone that we worked with for years when they move on, but this is a very special loss for us, and it's going to be a really difficult one to replace. I have a few notes about Joe, just briefly. Joe was raised in Swampscott and attended Swampscott schools. He was hired as a Swampscott firefighter on January 3rd, 1997. Prior to beginning his career in public safety, he spent many years working as a commercial fisherman in Swampscott. Joe arrived with an unmatched knowledge of the waters around the area and a unique set of skills that I do not believe any of us fully appreciated when he was a new firefighter. The depth of his experience and insight were to be revealed over many years in thousands of responses to calls for service. When new firefighters attend the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy, one important skill that is taught is knot tying. By the time Cadet Gambale graduated, with his long experience working in the waters off of our coast and tending his fishing gear, he left the instructors with as many knot tying tips as they had taught him. Joe was promoted to lieutenant in August of 2014. Right away, he threw himself into his new role and the added responsibilities it carried in his own unique way. All firefighters have as part of their kit a binder of information on certain properties in town and streets. You may have noticed Swampscott's got a lot of roads that are cut in the middle, a lot of housing, the numbering sequence of which I don't know how we landed up with. Firefighters carry with them notes to help them, in an emergency response to keep straight where they're going, as well as buildings and sprinkler systems, fire suppression and detection systems. Joe's binder quickly became the go-to source for information on sprinkler systems or alarm systems or detailed drawings and floor plans for the informative maps in some of Swampscott's confusingly numbered and hard-to-navigate streets, complete with little humorous drawings as memory aids. Other officers soon began to ask if they could copy pages from Joe's binder, myself included. By April 2018, when Joe was promoted to the rank of captain, it seemed a natural evolution. He was already deeply respected for his knowledge and problem-solving ability, and many younger firefighters were eager to serve on his shift. Joe is retiring on January 1st, 2027, after serving the town for 29 years. If he were, I'm sorry, 2026, yeah. So you'd have
I
a
was like, wait,
29
we're
years.
pretty early.
Yeah, 2026, excuse me. If he were allowed, he'd absolutely stay on longer. He's not ready to go. It's always a significant loss of experience when a firefighter with so many years leaves us. In this case, it will be a particularly deep one. Although he has been dedicating more time over the past couple of years to pass on what he has learned to a whole new generation of firefighters who have sprung up around him, he is the one where there is one area, where Joe will fail. They will learn a lot and will benefit, but there is no escaping the fact that when Joe's packing up, he'll be packing up more than just clothes and photos from his locker at the end of this month. He'll be leaving us. He will be leaving with an insight the entire department will have to work hard to replace for years to come. Joe?
So on behalf of the Select Board, I have an official citation of appreciation in recognition of your 29 years of dedicated service to our town, and that is presented to Captain Joe Gambale tonight. Thank you very much, Captain Gambale. We have this lovely photograph of our waters, the harbor, where you spent time before us, and hopefully you'll spend a lot of time after us.
I will. I really will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you want to say something?
Captain Gambale, would you like to say something? I don't know if you're a man of few words or many. All right, let Graham do that. You come on up here and,
I would like just to say what an honor and a privilege it has been working with the guys that I've worked with for 30 years. And I'll miss them terribly.
Oh.
thank you. And we will also say we are in debt to the family of Captain Gambale also, who has allowed him to serve our town for 30 years. So thank you very much. All right, we will move on to the presentation of the citations of appreciation for Girl Scout Troop 72182 for the completion of their Silver Award, Nature for All. Would you folks like to pop up to the mic, please? Don't be shy. Why don't you introduce yourself, and then you could tell us about your project. You want to rock, paper, scissors?
You go. Okay, so I'm Amelia Crehan. I'm Audrey Hale.
I'm Taya O'Donohue. So our project was to do a silver award, and we chose to do it on a nature box.
Oh my gosh. And we also put like plants and like inside we put like information cards and plants and stuff to like help students like learn about like the outdoors.
So like there's like bingo sheets and informational cards on like tracks and other stuff. And
Oh yeah, where are these items?
It's like in Ewing Woods, like right behind the elementary school, on like the kiosk
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, so one of the parts of our project was to plant gardens in front of the new elementary school. So we did weeding, and we planted new native plants. And we also made a bunch of signs about butterflies. We did them on monarchs, painted ladies, and the eastern black swallowtails.
And inside our nature box, we put like a QR code so that for iNaturalist, so people can learn about like wildlife and like identify species and like tracks and plants and stuff.
Yeah, so like as we said, there's a nature box in Ewing Woods we put on the kiosk at the entrance. And so it just has like little fun activities that people can grab and do as they're like walking through the woods. And they also have like plants in them so that you can like take them home and like put them in your garden. And so you can just like grow them. And so we put in new plants like every month. And then in the winter we put in seed packets. Yeah.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Thank you very much, girls. And would you care to tell us how long this project took?
We've been doing it since like July, I think, and we ended in like late September.
Okay. And then now that you've completed your silver award, what's next?
Gold.
Gold award?
And what does that normally entail? Do you know?
A lot.
Am I putting you on the spot?
So like it's like a lot more effort, and like with the silver award we can do it like as a group, but with the gold award we each have to do one separately, and it also involves like a lot more effort with like more hours to put in and more time and thought into it. But yeah, we hope to get it.
That's awesome. Does anybody else have any questions?
Hope? You don't hope. You're going to get it. Right? You're gonna get it. All three of you will. I know it. So I have a question. So was it easy working together to make this project? Because we've seen you before, right? This crew.
Yeah, it was easy, and we also get along really well, so it's easy to like build teamwork.
Now, moving to the Gold Award, you have to do Gold Awards separately? You can't do anything together?
No, and it's a lot more hours too, so it's like a lot more individual time.
But you are going to go for the Gold Award, right?
Yes.
All right. Good.
Well, we have some recognition for all three of you in achieving your silver award. And thank you very much for the things you're doing to support our woods and nature and all of the native plantings and educating us. It's amazing, and we're very glad to have you in our communities. Thank you very much.
I think we also need to thank your leader, Suzanne Hale, for all the effort that she puts in guiding you guys through this.
And Diane will make you take a picture.
Sure, it's a total coincidence that they did native plants.
Don't worry, we'll get that out. All right, ready? Sometimes you need to ready? Okay, flip over those two steps. Okay, thank you very much, and we can't wait to see you back for gold. Okay. We will now move on to the town administrator's report.
Good evening.
Good evening. How can you?
I can't top this
You can't
so
top
far.
that.
This is quite an opening for the
That
two.
sweater neck is coming real close.
I don't know.
It's a nice sweater you have.
It's an
there.
effort. It's an effort.
Proud of that
I
sweater.
have a few brief updates that I'll share and happy to take questions about anything I talk about or that you would like me to address. First, from the police.
FYI, we don't have it, it seems.
Okay.
Okay, but-
Yeah.
okay, all right. We'll pay very close attention.
Feel free to riff off this and ask other questions. From the police department, I just wanted to give an update on where we are with hiring. There's a number of applications that have come through to the chief and the leadership team. I believe the number is between like 18 and 22 that they are reviewing. These are the folks that they will start with. They review qualifications. From there, they can be moved forward to a background check and interview. The idea is to get 8 to 10 of them, ideally, is what we anticipate, into the background check and the interview process in January. So I'll continue to give you updates on where they are because I know there's an interest in making sure that we're staffed and replacing any officers that move out of town. In addition to that, the two new hires, Nate Espinal and Sam Holy, are slated to be joining the January Academy in Linfield for Nate, and Sam is joining the February in Randolph. She was on the wait list in Linfield. We anticipated her getting in, but she did not. But she is enrolled in the February Academy, so they will both be starting in the first 2 months with that process. There's a number of months there, then field training, so before they are fully on their own, it's a 9 to 12-month window, but we're happy to be getting them in there. At the fire department, Chief Archer's working on the purchase of a new ladder truck. I guess he left. I thought he was still here. I thought he'd be excited to talk about this. There's an opportunity from Pierce to buy an as-built truck so that we do not have to wait the 18 to 36 months, depending on the truck. There's a small delta between the appropriation and the cost right now, so he and Patrick are going through to see if there's outstanding purchase orders that are not being used. I think in the end, if there are, we will likely go back to Finance Committee later on if there's a need for any of those items and use the Finance Committee reserve or request the use of it to make up that change. I believe it's a $15,000 to $20,000 difference between the appropriation and the cost. This is the cheapest way for us to get one because it's as built and we're not sort of putting bells and whistles on, and it's also the quickest because in each batch of new trucks, they have 1 or 2 that are not assigned to a community. So this is where we're fortunate to have this chance, and Patrick and the chief are working really hard on that. At Town Hall on the open positions, I had a very good discussion with a finance director candidate, another one coming up this week. I'm cautiously optimistic that there will be a more fulsome update for you all the first week in January, probably an email sooner than that, but just working through that. We finalized the assessor redraft and we'll be reposting with the higher salary. We also have a promising interview coming up for town clerk. And finally, on the public safety administration position, I wanted to highlight that Diane will be moving over to that role. We'll be posting for a new admin at Town Hall, so we're excited to be moving forward with a number of different positions all at the same time. It's a lot of progress all at once. A brief update on Hawthorne, just because I know everyone is keenly interested. Number one, for the community, parking is available. So please do use that parking lot, park within the lined spots, of course, but it's an opportunity for us to activate the space a little bit and also expand parking availability in the community. So please feel free to do that. A little update on the RFP itself. We've had more than a dozen folks that have requested and downloaded it. That being said, some are community members. You've put in an email address, or some people have just sort of put in gibberish to download it. So there's community members, there's interested parties that we know are, and then this week we're actually doing site visits as well for folks that wanted to schedule it. We posted an addendum that expanded it from only the 17th to any day this week by appointment. Marzi and Max have been making those happen this week, and we've had a number of interested groups go through, asking good questions, and sort of, just getting a look at the inside so that they can put together a better presentation in their response to our request. So we're looking forward to that. In addition, I wanted to finally thank Heidi for a training that I took part in this past week. It's dementia-friendly training that she does. It's available to elected officials if you haven't done it, appointed officials, and then on the staff side, the goal is to have 80% of employees go through this training, and it helps us to identify, but then also support someone that may be, working through symptoms of dementia if they were to come in and need any help from the town hall staff. So I did it with a couple of senior work-off volunteers, and we continue to sort of make sure new employees are aware of it and get into it. But Heidi was kind enough for this training to do it at town hall once we got the 3 of us, myself and the 2 senior work-off folks together. She also does them on a regular basis at the senior center. So if you all haven't done it yet, would encourage you to do it. And if anyone else is interested in doing it, community members as well, I know Heidi would really appreciate it. There's also a number of businesses in town that participate in the Forget Me Not program, which is tangentially related. It's just making sure the community itself is aware and thinking about, folks that you may interact with and what those signs look like so that everyone can be on the same page. And on the business side, it's opportunities for spaces and times that aren't as loud or crowded or things like that so that folks can be comfortable coming into the business. So that is my update generally, and I apologize that you do not have anything in your binder. We will continue to refine this binder idea for making sure you guys have everything you need. And just so you're aware, the Thursday before the meeting, these will be ready at Town Hall for you all going forward in this format. With any changes that you suggest, we're happy to address them as well. Any questions?
Yeah, just 2 quick questions, Nick. So when can the select board actually visit the Hawthorne.
I now finally have a key for Max. So literally, whenever I can work with each of the 5 of you, we can do it together, as long as there's no deliberation. A site visit is within open meeting laws, or I can take you all individually. Max is going to walk me through the alarm as well, so we can either look for a weekend morning, an afternoon. You all can let me know individually or as a group how you'd like to do that, but I literally got the key this afternoon. Marzi was nice enough to grab one from Max for me.
Awesome. And then my second question was, how are we so lucky to have the opportunity to acquire an as-built fire truck, considering the wait is up to 3 years?
So the chief has been working with the salesperson that is his contact for a while and had identified that this is something that we would be able to do because, again, the more bells and whistles or the more customization you do, the less likely you're able to do this. He and the team at the fire department looked closely at what the specs were, made sure that it worked for them, and he has been aggressive in letting the salesperson know that if any of them become available, we wanted to have a bite at the apple, and that's why he and Patrick are working to figure out this. I think it's between $15,000 and $20,000. I don't have the exact number. And if we would need to in the future, as I said, we would go back to FinCom on the reserve. If there comes up something in the next 6 months that would require that money to be put forward again on a PO or something. But we were sort of scraping together what's available to make sure that we could get it done as quickly as possible.
Excellent. Thank you.
And it's a credit to the chief to answer the question directly.
I have 2 questions on that. One, because it's an opportunity that's available to us, it doesn't go through typical procurement?
So we have the capital appropriation already.
Okay.
And the procurement, this is either we would order it and sort of pay on delivery, or this is an opportunity to
Right.
short circuit that wait.
And then this is going to replace which one currently?
I do not know the answer to that. I apologize.
Okay.
I can ask.
Anybody else?
Yep, I had some questions about Hawthorne. Will we be letting residents know with a newsletter, email, whatever mode, that parking at the Hawthorne is an option for them? Is there a sign that we're going to put up, anything to let people know that they can park there?
Yes to all of the above. We can do all of them. It was something that Max and I had spoken to the police department about to make sure that, and I think I said this to one or some of you in the past, but the police department was actually really excited when we suggested it because it would activate the space.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be that there's an empty lot in front of a building that we're also holding on to right now.
And my second question is, when we have people coming through to tour, do the site visits, do we have like an FAQ or any type of, anything that we're giving out with like standard questions that prospective tenant or restaurateur might ask, right? Like common
Yeah.
questions. Do we have those
So-
prepared or something to give in terms of like not a presentation, but like a
So
handout?
what everyone has right now is the RFP that's posted in the addendums. The addendums are for the dates of the visit, and there was a second one. What was it? Yeah, so we don't, the answer is no. For the procurement, we wait for the questions. We have a week to answer them, and then we post the answers. So in the course of the discussion during any of the tours, if there's a question asked, we ask them to put it in writing.
Okay.
Because the benefit is meant to accrue to anyone who would apply via
Yep.
the procurement.
To be on equal footing.
Exactly. So if folks say, from a building inspector standpoint, what would need to be done? That was a question that had been asked, and we asked to be reduced to writing. But I talked to Rich and said, can you start working on the answer to this, anticipating that the question is going to be very broad,
Yep.
and the types of things that a potential respondent would need to be thinking about.
Okay,
But we don't hand anything out.
okay, great. But it will be made available to anybody that has
Right.
interest.
Yeah,
And
there's
to
a,
this board, I would assume, as well.
it's on the schedule for, I think the questions are due right before Christmas. Our answers are due right before New Year's, or
Okay.
right after. It's something like that. We have approximately a week to answer them.
Excellent. That's all I had.
Have we reached out to any organizations, like brewing organizations or
We have not. We've had
restaurant
just-
associations?
Just the respondents that we've had. We can certainly make contact with the Mass Brewers Guild and Mass Restaurant Association tomorrow.
Is that it?
I have one question.
Please.
If we have outstanding, under capital, we have extra money under DPW equipment, is there a possibility we can slide some of that from DPW equipment over?
For the fire truck we're talking
Yeah.
about? No, the authorization that was voted on was for an amount, a specific
Right.
amount for the ladder truck, so that's what we're working within. And I think that we should be able to get through the POs that we would sort of abandon
Right.
for now, we should be able to get there. The sort of outstanding item would be that we may go before FinCom to say there, a portion of that reserve might be necessary for something, whether it's a
It would be
repair or.
it would be unforeseen, so it would qualify, I think.
Right. The alternative would be, sort of push the timeline and hope that Pierce holds on to it while we go before, it's 6 in one, half dozen the other, and so we thought the best option was to try to find it within our expense line now and make it all work. And then if an unforeseen future expense comes up, we would go before FinCom and explain. And obviously, we're highlighting tonight what we're doing, so it's, this is the first domino if that were necessary, so we've been public about this, and then would also in the future say, there's an expense that we hadn't foreseen, or whatever the case may be.
Okay, thank you very much. We will move on to public comment. In the, I guess, new fashion, we've been sort of trying to streamline public comment so that we are able to streamline the rest of the meeting. So if you're here for public comment, you may comment on anything that is not a public hearing on the agenda. So any item on the agenda or off is open for public comment.
For 3 minutes.
3 minutes, and please approach the microphone with your name and your address. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to new and old business, which first item is a public hearing, which is a discussion and possible vote to consider the approval of the application for multiple amendments of an existing Section 15 off-premises wine and malt beverage license to an off-premises all alcohol license, and that's for 44 Atlantic Inc., doing business as Richdale Swampscott, located at 444 Humphrey Street, Swampscott, Mass. 01907, including a change of manager, a change to officer and director and shareholder. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
I think you have to vote to open.
Yep, we're going to vote to entertain a motion to enter the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Feeling better tonight?
Yeah,
Good.
thank you. I to maybe help your understanding of what it is, I gave to Tim a map that I think,
Yes, we have.
has everybody seen it?
It's in
So
your
that you can see exactly by my color coding where the alcoholic beverages would be kept as opposed to the beer and wine, which are already there. And I think we're pretty much through our presentation at the last meeting. So I guess we'd be open to questions and maybe any comments from any townspeople.
Okay, so as this is a public hearing, if there is anybody from the public who wishes to speak, now would be the time to do so, online or in person. And you can approach the microphone. Diane, I can't see if an online hand is raised, so if you, please approach the mic, state your name and your address, please.
Joan Kruzek, 432 Humphrey Street. At the last meeting, a letter was read from neighbors who complained about teenagers drinking beer and leaving cans, and also defacing property with spray paint. And I don't know what that has to do with a business that's run properly having a liquor license. I know Vinny, I know his wife, and I know his son, he's just started his first year of college. This man would never sell beer to underage residents of Swampscott or anywhere. He just wouldn't do it. He raised a responsible teenage son, and I found that letter just brought out the fact that we need to know where parents are, not who's selling liquor. And the other point I wanted to make is that I walk the beach. I live across from Fisherman's Beach. I walk the beach 2 or 3 times a day from April right through till November, and I pick up trash. I pick up 2 bags of trash every day. I have getters. I have stainless steel. If you've been to the beach, you've seen me because I'm there all the time. The things that I pick up are not beer bottles. They are nips, and they're grape, some kind of a grape liqueur. And when they throw them out, they come in a package. You can get like a dozen, and that's what I find on the beach. So wherever those are coming from, it's not from this store, because they don't sell them there. And I do find needles. I warn parents when I do find them to be careful of orange tips and ask their children not to touch them. But the most thing that I find is cigarette boxes. I pick up hundreds of cigarette boxes every single day, all summer. The people take their cigarettes, they open that little cellophane, and that's on the beach. And I mean, our kids play there. It's not an ashtray. So in terms of keeping our community safe and clean, I don't see what this business trying to get a liquor license has to do with that at all.
Thank you. All right, I think we don't have any additional hands raised for public comments, so we would be opening discussion to the board. We had some conversations last time about, I think it was left, where the liquor would be stored. It's very clear on this sheet where that storage is. If there are any outstanding questions, now would be the time.
So I don't know that I have a question as much as I have a concern. I have a concern as a parent, right, just as a resident. I feel like underage drinking in our town is a thing. It's a thing maybe we don't like to talk about a lot, but neighboring towns have had issues. It's almost an epidemic, I would say, in small towns. And I just personally have just a bad feeling about a convenience store that is frequented all summer, all year, by kids buying candy and ice cream and slush, and us just having more exposure to alcohol in a place that people will go to typically buy a snack, maybe gum, maybe whatever. We have 3 full-size liquor stores in a 3-square-mile town. I don't think that, we're lacking for places to buy liquor, right? And it's my understanding that this license already has a beer and wine license, right? So this is an expansion of the license. I think, not that I want to, cut into anybody's profit margin, but I think that at some point, someone has to start talking about, underage drinking in a town of our size, and it's to the previous person's comments. First of all, thank you for picking up stuff on the beach every day. That's amazing. I couldn't thank you enough for doing that. I mean, if more people did that, we would be in so much better shape. But to your point, it is a bigger problem, right? And it's a bigger community problem. It's not just parents, it's not just store owners, it's not just select board, it's everybody. And I just think that I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around more exposure to alcohol for kids that are in places like a convenience store. Because I think of a convenience store as a place that, I focus on kids, that are going there to buy a snack after school, or they're going to jump off the pier and they're getting an ice cream. And, not that they would attempt to buy alcohol, but it's the exposure to it, and it's the constant message that everywhere you can buy a drink, or, that's just me. That's my gut feeling. But at the same time, I don't certainly want to hurt this business, which is obviously run by incredibly great community members, and don't discount that at all, but that's my concern just as a human and as a parent. you know.
If I might respond to that.
Of course, yeah.
If they don't get this all alcohol license, it's available to someone else at a different location.
But it's available at a liquor store, right?
As a liquor store, a full liquor store in another location in town. Doesn't affect their beer and wine. They would still have their beer and wine.
Right, but
You're
a
just-
liquor
you're just
store is
talking
not a
about-
place where
you're
my
just
kid is going to
talking
buy an
about-
ice cream.
Pardon me?
A liquor store is not a place that my kid is going to go in and buy an ice cream. That's my concern. That's where my thought process is, you know what I mean?
I understand that
But I
concern.
get your point.
But you know, this is a license that's available.
Sure,
And
yeah.
someone's gonna get it, and it's gonna be in our town. And
Oh,
you've
of
got
course.
somebody who's demonstrated that they're responsible owners, and how they deal with their present license, having for 9 years had no complaints.
Oh, I'm not discounting that. That's not at all
Just-
my concern,
just-
but thank you for that. I appreciate that.
So I have two comments. One, I would like to understand what even our legal platform would be to, I don't think, I am uncertain, I am not practicing right now, but I am uncertain that we have the ability as a board to deny him a license because it makes us uncomfortable. I don't know, and we don't have, unless there is something in our packet I didn't see, we don't have the commentary from KP to say his proximity to the beach or something like that allows us to not approve this license. That's the first question where my mind goes, right? Because we need to be aware that we have certain legal ramifications, and we need to be within those ramifications. The second observation I would like to make, which is a recent experience I had at the Richdale, which my son takes his bike to the Richdale all the time. He goes with his buddy, they go to get candy and soda, and I happened to walk in when my son was there with a couple of his friends, and there were two of them inside, and I said, "Why are there only two of you inside?" And he said, "We're only allowed to be two inside at a time." I said, "You are?" He said, "Yeah, when there are kids here, we're only allowed two at a time. And if we walk in with more than two, we're asked to wait until those two are done, and then two of us go in." And I said, "And you listen?" "Of course we listen." "Okay, great. Well, good job me." And I said, "Thank you so much." And then I said, "If this one gives you trouble, you let me know." And he said, "I will." And so I left. And to me, that speaks volumes to the type of management that is happening at this location. It is not just that you've asked something of this community, but this community respects you enough to give it to you, right? So my kid is showing up on his bicycle and has very little cares in the world, but he is concerned of what you're asking him to do, and he's respecting that. So thank you for that and for helping, because she was an active community member and teaching kids how to be active community members, and I appreciate that. I do still have the fears that Ms. Leonard states, which is but I also look at your layout and I see that all your alcohol is at the back of the store. So why would my kid have to go anywhere past this grocery, because anything in the back is not for him? There's alcohol in the back, there's wine, there's beer. I would hope that anything small bottle nip that could fall off the shelf is behind the counter and not on the shelves. I think that's common practice. So I want to make sure that we are in the parameters of our legal rights and that we understand what we can and cannot deny a license for.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time being thoughtful of, what community presence you're bringing.
So to answer the first comment, there is nothing in
Okay.
that lays out that framework. I'm happy to work with KP. If you were to continue, again, we could have that in writing to you in advance to review, and then in the packets for the evening of the next meeting. But I do not have that ready for this evening.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying there. You're not sure the answer to Katie's question, or you believe it's correct that we don't really have the legal right to deny this application for that?
I believe it's correct that there's a framework that you need to follow that is probably well-tested and legal.
Okay, but we're not.
Forums,
exactly what
that I don't have that in front of me, and so if the will of the board was to look at it from that framework or that standpoint or that point of view, I would want you to have that information so that you understood what the parameters are, as Katie sort of described.
Yeah.
I would like to see those parameters because I am concerned with some of the points that Danielle Leonard has brought up tonight.
And I'm happy to circulate that well in advance of the next meeting. It's a request I can make of them in the morning.
Well, that's fine. I'm ready to make a motion to approve this, because I totally understand those concerns, but given the fact I'm in the store all the time, there really is like it's a small store. I'm not saying that some kid couldn't go over there, for sure. They can already go over there and get a beer or wine. We're talking about adding, some liquor behind the cash register and at the end of a cooler. So to me, it feels like there's a balance here. If a kid is looking to get alcohol, they're either going to already be able to get it here or somewhere else. This is a well-operated business, and I do think the balance comes to there is a license, they're adhering to everything that we know of that they should adhere to, and it seems like a reasonable, balanced approach to proceed with the license. So that's, I guess I don't know if I have to read the motion to make the motion, but that's the gist of my perspective.
We have one hand up, if you don't mind if I take that before you read the motion, that would be great. Mr. Demento, you may unmute yourself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bill Demento, 1008 Paradise Road. I have no opinion relative to this particular store. I have two other thoughts. And that is, the first one being, they wouldn't be here if you didn't have a right to deny it. And the statute is very clear that the standard is it in the public good to have this license? That is the standard. But you have all the authority in the world to deny it, unless you're going to deny it because Chris Drukas is their lawyer. Other than that...
Thanks, Bill.
Other than that, you have all the power in the world to do it. That caught me listening, saying they wouldn't have a public hearing unless you had the right to deny it. It just has to be something that if the majority of the board feels it isn't in the public good, then they don't get the license. It's a very discretionary thing. That's why it's called the license. Thank you for your time.
Well, I just say that.
Thank you.
That's a logical conclusion. I'm not sure it's necessarily the conclusion. I mean, our job could be to make sure that they adhere to all the requirements of the application, and that may be the purview which we have theoretically. It's not just.
And in response to that, he is correct. I mean, you would have the right to reject it, but your job is to balance all the factors that are enumerated in the statute and in the Valorant case. Say things like traffic. Are we going to create traffic issues? Is it going to create parking issues? Is it going to create noise issues? Is it going to create public safety issues? And I would say to you, based upon the information that you have, it's a very busy area in town. I don't think it's going to have a very minimal effect, if any, on traffic or in the general area. I think it's far enough away from any other liquor store. So it's not a question of need. It's a question of balancing the equities and being able to provide a service that the public desires. Otherwise, there wouldn't be these licenses, and there wouldn't be, in a town like Swampscott, as many licenses as there are. And if you read the Ballarin case, I think it enumerates exactly all these issues and how you have to balance them. And I would maintain that based upon the owner and the experience that you had with them, I mean, they have 16 cameras in this place. So not only are they monitoring how many kids come in there, where they are, and they can watch and see if any of them go back there. They can monitor everything that's going on there. And I think that you've got a wonderful owner who wants to use this in a limited capacity, which is, I think, something that's also credible. And they're willing to keep it that way. They're willing to specify that if you only want them to use the particular areas that they've laid out to sell alcohol, they'll live with that.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I've been to the store. I go mostly in the summertime. Vinny, I've been seeing you for, you know, probably at least the last 6 years or so. The store's well-run. It's well-respected. You have neighbors that are showing up not to oppose you, but to support you. That's not something we see very often at a select board meeting, or certainly a hearing about beer, wine, spirits, et cetera. So I think that's a testament to your management. So I'm fully in support. I think, you know, I certainly think that you've proven yourself over the last 9 years of operating this location with a beer and wine license, and I think the full license is something that I would support, because I think you're going to do it the right way. I know you're going to do it the right way.
Maybe I should know this. This has to be renewed annually?
I was just going to make that point, Ted.
Okay, so we have the opportunity to evaluate if there are concerns. We'd be right back here like the rest of the things we have to go through tonight, and kind of renewing or not renewing based on what had happened.
I think it's a little harder when you have to renew versus not initiating it. And I think it's a very valid point, having kids frequent a convenience store. It's a convenience store. And kids are frequenting a convenience store. They're generally not frequenting a liquor store. And I think that's the reasons why the Commonwealth actually set up licenses in different categories, or at least it's one of the reasons why. You know, I would not be comfortable with my child going into a convenience store where there is a lot of displays of liquor, wine, beer, liquor behind the counter. I think those constant images don't add to a good result often. I think that it is something that just definitely concerns me. So I personally just feel like I'd really like to know more about what are the rules around, you know, denying a liquor license, just because I don't have enough experience in this.
I just want to clarify too, maybe I wasn't clear. I'm not so much as concerned with kids or teens or preteens being able to go and actually purchase the liquor.
Right.
That's not my concern. My concern is the atmosphere created in a place where kids frequent and you're selling liquor. Okay, it's different when, I don't know, you've had a couple drinks on the beach, you go to Richdale across the street, you want to get a 6-pack of High Noons, and you're walking in next to my kid who's buying a slush, right? It's that type of atmosphere that gives me pause. It's not that I'm concerned that, you know, Katie's 4th grader is going to go down the wrong aisle and pick up a McGillicuddy's. That's not what I'm talking about. So I'm not so to say, let's look at this in a year and see if we have instances of, you know, situations where we could, you know, potentially look to change or reverse a ruling. That's not my concern. My concern is we just approved a license, I don't know, a quarter mile up the road for an actual liquor store.
Half a mile.
Thank you, half mile. Isn't that enough? At what point in this town of 3.5 miles is it enough liquor, right? It's an honest question, right? We've got bars, we've got restaurants, we've got clubs, we've got 3 liquor stores. Now we've got convenience stores. Fine. Why do we need to continue to expand? And is it appropriate? Is it in the best interest of the people in this community for this particular type of establishment to have that atmosphere, right? That's all. That's my concern. It's not that kids are going to go in and accidentally buy a, 40. No, it's that exposure, that element, that environment is different than, the same reason why we're not letting 12-year-olds, go into Vin and Liquors, right, unattended or by themselves, right? You just wouldn't feel comfortable, right? So just because we have a liquor store this is kind of like a quasi-liquor store to me now, right? It's not a convenience store that sells beer and wine. We're now talking about a mini liquor store that's selling all liquor, beer and wine, in some groceries, right? So it changes the whole feel, to me, of that Richdale.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't know as a parent, then if it's not my job to just say, sorry, Jack, you can't go down to Ridgedale's anymore, because I don't feel like that's an appropriate place for you as your parent, you have to go to a different place that doesn't sell alcohol to get your convenience, rather than sending him to Ridgedale's, rather than penalize you all and say you can't sell liquor. So maybe it does change what
So-
that place becomes.
But so we penalize the kids of the town by not letting them go to the store?
Well, the question comes,
Am I-
No,
am
the
I
the
interpreting
question
that?
becomes, as a parent, you make a decision.
To not let your kid go to the rich sale because we
Alone
decided to
or
let them
unattended?
sell?
well, I think the question
Liquor?
becomes, what is the public good?
Well,
Is it public good to say, no, kids can't go into a convenience store? I think the public good is to have a broad range of commerce, and right now, what we have there is a convenience store.
But you have a convenience store that sells beer and wine currently. So
Mhm.
an argument can be made, Ms. Leonard just mentioned a high noon. You
Mhm.
can't sell a high noon at this particular location. A high noon,
but you can now,
you
right?
What is a high
you would be able to.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
high noon.
It's a hard
sells
seltzer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so a hard seltzer would, typically has alcohol between 4% and 5%. And we're talking about. Sorry, some technical difficulties. High noons or, these other tea beverages, we're talking about alcohol percentages that are, that are reasonable. Some of these double and triple IPAs have 8, 9, 10% alcohol. Wine
Sure.
often has double-digit alcohol there. So, you don't have the ability to sell these Sun Cruisers or the High Noons or any of those spiked seltzer drinks, which are typically low alcohol drinks, without an all-alcohol license.
Right.
Which, from the first presentation, was something that was really a
Yeah.
focus. And
That's what's driving it, more than anything.
I feel woefully unprepared with my contribution to the types of alcohol that we're going to be discussing tonight. But I will proceed, because now it seems clear to me that this is not, the consensus seems to be, it's not really an issue. Chris, if we accept what Chris said about the rationale for what we could decline. We could decline this. We have the right to do that, per Mr. Demento, per Chris. So I'll accept the fact that we could decline this. And people, so I don't think we need to wait to figure out whether or not we could decline this.
Could I just weigh in? The Ballerin test gives you a framework that would allow something to survive a challenge. So Bill is right that we do have the ability to do this. However, if we do not look at it with a framework that
Right.
actually identifies what's going on, then we will not survive an appeal. So that is the rationale behind waiting, is to understand that what the framework is, not just the high points that he highlighted, but what we can conceivably be looking at and weighing against the public good or the density of licensing or any of these items that have been identified tonight. So two things can be true, like, yes, we do have the right, or you do have the right to do what you would like. It's a license that you grant. However, to survive an appeal, we need to be thoughtful about what the things are that are most important to the board.
Yeah, I'm just taking into consideration that we've asked them to come back a second time already. Now we're thinking about kind of having them come back a third time. And, I'm happy to take the risk that, maybe we're just going to approve this right now. And so there won't be an issue about an appeal. But I leave it up to the chair if you wish to, postpone this again and have them come back again or take a vote.
You can make a motion.
Well, does this affect their current license, their regular beer and wine license?
No, they can continue to sell as they have been with
So
their
the only
current.
thing it
That's
affects.
provided you renew that after.
After
Yeah.
this.
Right,
So
of
the only thing
course.
the only thing it would affect
Is their
is
change
additional
from-
sales,
yeah.
additional sales
Right.
over 2 weeks.
Right. And I would say this, I think that, Doug, I take your point, they have been back. I think that it is important that if we're talking about not approving this or any other license that comes before us, that we're having that larger conversation in a context of the framework which Nick is talking about, so that we understand if, for example, the state provides us with a certain number of licensing that's available to us, but if we have, as a town, want to say, we think we've reached the density in this area, and we aren't interested in, for whatever reason, approving licenses in this area, is that something that we could do within the legal parameters that are set forth by us, to say that we feel like the licenses are dense enough in this area and we would not like to go forward? I think that framework is important, not just for this particular instance, but for instances going forward. I mean, I go back and forth because also I think, to your point, Mr. Drukas, if not you guys, then somebody else. And if we can't regulate the areas or parameters based on the legal framework, then we have to consider the applicant as the best applicant to come forward and make sure they maintain the standards that we're saying he has been for the last 9 years. So, you know,
That's my position, clearly.
Yeah. Yep.
And let's just be clear, we're talking about in a town of 15,000 people, putting in a one aisle that's 6 feet long. That's really what we're talking about here.
In a very small
additional-
store. In a very small store. You're talking about one whole aisle in addition
And
to the
behind.
liquor
No,
that you
behind
already
the
have.
counter.
12 feet.
6 feet each side.
And, no, and behind the counter, see here.
Okay.
But yes, I'm not
Yeah.
exacerbating your point, but I'm just saying.
Is ownership also, I'm so sorry that I'm a little confused on here, but is ownership changing?
No,
Management.
the structure of the ownership. There used to be 2 shareholders, there's only 1 now.
You bought him out.
Yeah, he bought out
Yes, the
his
father.
partner.
Okay.
And that the manager has changed. We want to change the manager. So those are other aspects that we were asking for as well.
So
we
is
really would
Vinnie the
really have to
majority
vote on
shareholder here?
those.
You're the majority shareholder?
No.
No,
No, okay.
Bob is.
So you're the manager, right, so there's a,
Bob is.
He's the manager.
okay.
So those things are happening simultaneously with the requests. There's a change of manager, there's a change of officer and director, there's a change of stock interest.
Right,
And there is a change to the license,
right.
all of those things. So you could vote to approve the amendments of all the shareholder pieces, the officers, the managers, and leave the expansion to liquor separate for the time being. You could choose to do that until we get the framework, or
I'm fine with that.
you can make, is there a motion then to be made?
Well, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a motion on the
Not
floor?
yet. There is not.
You didn't make a motion?
No.
All right, I'll motion to approve the multiple amendments to the existing Section 15 off-premises wine and malt beverage license for 444 Atlantic, doing business as Richdale Swampscott, 444 Humphrey Street, change of manager, officers, director, and the change of stock interest as presented, and we'll hold off on the vote of an all alcohol license for now until we have more information at our next meeting.
Do I have a second?
I would second that.
All in favor of David's motion?
Aye.
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 Okay, so we have approved everything but the all alcohol piece, and we will come back to discuss that. And Marzi will be in contact with you about when that next meeting will be. We will take a motion to close the public hearing for the application of the multiple
So moved.
amendments.
Second.
One thing I think that might be a little bit helpful, one of the things, you have to understand when you, and I would suggest you look at the Ballerin case that Nick brought up, town administrator. It's a case that involves a situation where on Charles Street in Boston, there were within a quarter mile, 5 restaurants that served full alcohol. And the Ballerin had a restaurant, but only had a beer and wine license. And they went in and said, okay, there's 5 restaurants within a quarter mile, they all have full alcohol, I don't. They're opposing me for obvious reasons. And again, the test was whether it was reasonable under the circumstances to deny them. And the decision is no, that wasn't reasonable. So you have to think about what's reasonable under the circumstance, balancing all of the issues with reference to, it's not need, that's the test. The need is whether or not it's reasonable under the circumstances to allow such a license to exist. And I would maintain that knowing these owners, if there's going to be another license in Swampscott, passing up on having it be this one, even with a condition, imposing a condition that what they're showing you is all that they're going to use to sell their product. Is a golden opportunity to limit exposure to alcohol, if you will, within your 3 square miles. And on that, I'll be quiet.
Thank you. Appreciate that feedback. So all in favor to close the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you very much.
Excuse me,
And-
just a point of clarification, if
Please.
you don't mind. Will you continue to a public hearing, or do you want us to
Continue.
notice the meeting, when you bring this back up again?
We need to reverse that.
Yeah. I was
So
gonna
because we
bring that up.
closed the public hearing, we need to renotice it.
So I'd like to make a motion to reverse that closure.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the motion on the table that we should be proposing is to
Temporarily
table-
pause.
To table.
Continue.
To continue, thank you, David, the public hearing until the next select board meeting.
So moved.
January 7th, thank you.
January what?
7th. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we have
Thank you.
tabled the conversation just on this piece until the 7th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I do think it's important, Nick, I know you're leaving, but I do think it's important that we understand the definition of reasonableness when we're understanding, and maybe, I'm sure KP will write us a memo and tell us the parameters of reasonableness that we can, to utilize, that we feel like are stronger for appeal.
I will.
Not like.
I'll make sure
all those-
to ask
So we
for
can
that.
just understand. Okay, we are moving on then to more, thank you so much, to discussion and possible vote to renew annual liquor licenses, common victular license, entertainment, and class 2 licenses.
I just make a brief introduction. So Tim, Marzi, Diane have gone through this a number of times today, so hopefully we're in good shape. I just want to highlight that in the printed documents, that was as of last Thursday when we printed these, so the red ones that still required some, it's in front of the presentation, I believe. The red ones were the ones that still required some action, whether it was checks that needed to be received, inspections or something like that, so that number has narrowed. And the number of businesses that we still require either more action or information from is much narrower, and Tim can speak to that. I just wanted to highlight, in case you were looking at this document, that we've continued to try to close out all of these open items since this was printed.
Okay. So I think my colleagues can push me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that we have a need to go back to the presentation. I think as long as it's clear on the first page that the tab is on, starting with liquor licenses, which are at the top, that we would be, the motion would be to renew, and I will read them so that we are
Just-
in.
You guys have,
Where the tab is, Doug?
You have the red?
Annual renewals.
That one, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
So we're talking about annual license renewals. We're looking at liquor licenses. G and little g fall under one liquor license. But for the common vic and the entertainment license, they're two separate licenses. Can we get an explanation as to why that is?
Absolutely happy to do that. The liquor license was issued under, because the building is adjacent, so it's considered, the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission is able to issue one license for the two entities. The building department, because of occupancy requirements and the need for additional firewalls between the establishments, they created a maximum amount for occupancy. And the best way to address that in regards to the recommendations from the building department is to have two separate occupancy maximums and max for each of the buildings. Therefore, we would request two separate common victualers license.
Okay, but for entertainment purposes, like if they're probably on the same DirecTV or YouTube TV, I mean, we're gonna charge them. I'm just asking.
No.
It just seems.
Happy to respond to that. So similar to the liquor license, we're treating the entertainment license such as that they'll only have one entertainment license, one liquor license, but two separate common victualers licenses.
Oh, it does say, though, that G and little g require two entertainment licenses despite needing only one liquor license. So it looks like they have two common vic, two entertainment, but only one liquor license.
Correct.
It would seem to me like, at least from an entertainment perspective, the vibe is different. There are TVs at little g, there's not TVs at G. There's trivia and bands being played at little g, that's not happening at G. So it would seem like to me that they're sort of
Two distinct
separate and apart situations. But that's
No,
an observation, not a-
I'm just
not
asking,
an
I'm just
answer.
asking the question, since we have, since you have, one liquor license because they're adjacent, and now they're still adjacent, but they're separate.
Right, are they two different companies?
Right. that's-
No, it's under one, the
No,
same
it's the same
company.
one, I
It's
think.
all one company.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
But I will say, the ABCC is what's gonna control the liquor license.
Right.
Well, but
We
that
are
one's
just-
easy. I mean, if
Yeah,
they're
that
all one
one-
company,
if
there's
they
only
say
one
it's one.
license, so.
But we control the common victulars and the entertainment licenses, they're under our authority, so if we tell them they need to, they need to.
Excuse me.
Why?
I
They're
know.
one company, why are we telling them it's two?
Exactly.
What is it?
So that just goes back to the building department, as I mentioned to you,
Right.
because of the occupancy requirements and fire code.
So is that a new development under this building commissioner, or has it always been that way?
I don't have that answer. I can ask Rich.
Okay.
Oh, well,
Did they have two
Is
last
there a
year?
way that we
I
can?
believe they had two
always
last
had-
year,
they've always-
I believe we
They
approved
did.
two last year,
Yeah.
yeah.
They,
It's a
for common
renewal,
victulars, they did
so
have
I
two.
believe that
Yes.
it would have predated Rich.
Can we talk about these outstanding issues that are not with G and little, not with G
Yeah.
and little g?
Why
but
don't we
with the-
start with the liquor
Yeah, the liquor
licenses?
licenses, please. Yes.
So can we
There's a lot of liquor flowing around this community.
talk about Mexicali and Paradiso?
Yeah, so we can start with Mexicali first. Confirm with the building department that these are the outstanding issues. This is a letter that was sent to them on December 11th. It was dropped off in person. I believe this was actually the second notice that they had gotten. The current outstanding issues are to submit a current test report of the fire alarm, sprinkler system, and emergency lights and exit signage, have the fire extinguishers and kitchen Ansel system serviced and tagged approved by a licensed testing company, install required push bar or hardware on the rear exit door at the exterior, repair door closer to the top of the frame, and remove unapproved lock, maintain a clear path of travel to all exits. There are obstructions and storage blocking safe access to the rear egress. There are some, it goes into greater detail as well. Also, there is storage piled in front of the electrical service, preventing the required service area of 30 inches.
And that is from Mexicali, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you said it was dropped off and mailed?
It was dropped off in person.
Okay.
And we also have reached out to them personally several times via the phone to the manager.
Have we got any response at all as to what they're
No.
doing or what the status is? Nothing.
And
What about Paradiso?
Paradiso?
For Paradiso, they just need to submit, similar to Mexicali, they just had the one test report of the fire alarm, sprinkler system, and emergency lights and sign, just the fire alarm and the sprinkler system test report. That's what they need to submit. They don't need to be re-inspected, they just need to submit that report, which from what Rich said, it sounds like they will be doing that tomorrow.
So Tim, Marzi, so we could potentially approve this subject to?
Yeah,
That's
Yes.
correct.
we've done that in the past.
Excellent.
Okay, so I will read the motion so we get it right. The motion on the table would be a motion to approve the 2026 liquor licenses as follows and allow the select board to affix signatures electronically. Full approval, the following applicants have met the statutory requirements, completed all inspections, submitted all necessary documentation, and paid all required fees and shall receive full approval of their liquor license. Andrea's Taqueria, 646 Humphrey Street, Aries Express, 408 Humphrey Street, Burl Street Liquors at 205 Burl Street, Cafe Avellino at 242 Humphrey Street, Chi Asian Cuisine at 435 Paradise Road, Dockside Pub at 286 Humphrey Street, G Bar and Kitchen at 256 Humphrey Street, Gourmet Garden at 430 Paradise Road, Mission on the Bay at 141 Humphrey Street, Njord Haven at 408 Humphrey Street, Pomona 2 at 128 Humphrey Street, Richdale Swampscott at 444 Humphrey Street, Sam Walker's American Tavern at 450 Paradise Road, St. John the Baptist Club at 40 Burpee Terrace, Swampscott Club at 362 Humphrey Street, Swampscott Liquors at 646 Humphrey Street, Swampscott Yacht Club at 443 Paradise Road, Tyrific by the Sea Asian Cuisine at 146 Humphrey Street, the VFW Post 1240 at 10 New Ocean Street, and Vin and Square Liquors at 371 Paradise Road, and that we would conditionally approve applicants identified as having outstanding compliance items such as unpaid fees, pending inspections, incomplete documentation, outstanding violations, or other unresolved administrative issues. And they're receiving conditional approval tonight contingent upon resolving all matters to the satisfaction of both the building commissioner and the community development staff no later than December 29th, 2025. Failure to resolve such issues by the deadline will result in an automatic suspension or denial of the license. And that's Mexicali Cantina at 443 Paradise Road and Paradiso Restaurant at 15 Railroad Ave.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next on to the common victualers license. We can start with the outstanding issues. Tim, if you wouldn't mind.
Similarly highlighted Mexicali Grill and Paradiso for the previously mentioned issues. The other two outstanding issues are Flip the Bird and Whole Foods. Both of them just have submitted applications, but we're waiting on the checks in the mail. We don't have the fees.
They haven't paid the fees yet?
Correct.
Okay, very good. So the motion I would entertain for this is a motion to approve the 2026 common victualers licenses as follows and allow select board to affix electronic signatures. Full approval, the following applicants have met the statutory requirements, completed all inspections, submitted all necessary documentation, and paid all required fees, and shall receive full approval of their 2026 common victualers licenses. Andrea's Taqueria, 646 Humphrey Street, Gooseberry, 160 Humphrey Street, Cafe Avellino, 242 Humphrey Street, Captain Pizza, 3 Railroad Ave, Chi Asian Cuisine at 435 Paradise Road, Chipotle Mexican Grill at 450 Paradise Road, Cindy Suprev, 653 Humphrey Street, Cookie Monster at 505 Paradise Road, Dockside Pub and Grill at 286 Humphrey Street, Domino's Pizza at 430 Paradise Road, Dunkin' at 980 Paradise Road, Five Guys at 980 Paradise Road, G Bar and Kitchen at 256 Humphrey Street, Gourmet Garden at 430 Paradise Road, Little G at 250 Humphrey Street, Jersey Mike's Sub at 425 Paradise Road, Lincoln's Landing at 156 Humphrey Street, Mission on the Bay at 141 Humphrey Street, Njord Haven at 408 Humphrey Street, Oyo Frozen Yogurt at 136 Humphrey Street, Panera Bread at 433 Paradise Road, Pomona 2 at 128 Humphrey Street, Popo's Hot Dog / Kel's Cream at 168 Humphrey Street, Qdoba at Mexican Eats at 1016 Paradise Road, Renzo's Pizza at 197 Essex Street, Sam Walker's American Tavern at 450 Paradise Road, Starbucks at 450 Paradise Road, St. John the Baptist Club at 40 Burpee Terrace, Swampscott Senior Center at 200 R Essex Street, Swampscott Yacht Club at 425 Humphrey Street, Tyrific by the Sea at 146 Humphrey Street, The Beach Club at 80 Shepherd Street, 350 at 222 Humphrey Street, Tropical Smoothie Cafe at 450 Paradise Road, Tony Lena Sandwich Shop at 88 Cherry Street, the VFW Post 1240, 10 New Ocean Street, Bolo Craft Pizza at 152 Humphrey Street, and conditional approval. Applicants are identified as having outstanding compliance issues such as unpaid fees and shall receive conditional approval contingent upon resolving all the outstanding matters to satisfaction of the building commissioner and the community development staff no later than December 29th. Failure to resolve such issues by the deadline will result in automatic suspension or denial of the license. Flip the Bird at 450 Paradise Road, Mexicali Cantina and Grill at 443 Paradise Road, Paradiso Restaurant at 15 Railroad Ave, and Whole Foods at 331 Paradise Road.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, finally moving to the entertainment licenses, of which the same 4 folks are outstanding. I would assume you're going to tell me the same thing, right, Tim?
I sure am.
Okay, so Flip the Bird and Whole Foods have yet to pay their fee. and Mexicali and Paradiso have unresolved issues with the building commissioner. So the motion would be, I motion to approve the 2026 entertainment license as follows and allow the select board to affix electronic signatures. Full approval, meaning applicants have met all the statutory requirements, paid all the fees for their entertainment license. Andrea's Taqueria, 646 Humphrey Street, Cafe Avellino, 242 Humphrey Street, Chi Asian Cuisine at 435 Paradise Road, Cindy Supret at 653 Humphrey Street, Dockside Pub in 286 Humphrey Street, G Bar and Kitchen at 256 Humphrey Street, Gourmet Garden at 430 Paradise Road, Mission on the Bay at 141 Humphrey Street, Nord Haven at 408 Humphrey Street, Pomona 2 at 128 Humphrey Street, Sam Walker's American Tavern at 450 Paradise Road, St. John the Baptist Club at 40 Burpee Terrace, Swampscott Club at 362 Humphrey Street, Swampscott Yacht Club at 425 Humphrey Street, Terrific by the Sea Asian Cuisine at 146 Humphrey Street, the Beach Club at 80 Shepherd Ave, 350 Bakery at 222 Humphrey Street, the VFW Post, 1240 at 8 Pine Street.
Conditional.
Sorry, I'm just reading and looking for, I do not see, G should be on here twice because it has two entertainment licenses. So it should also say
Little G.
Little G at 250 Humphrey Street, so that would be included in the motion. And then conditional approval where applicants are identified as having outstanding compliance items such as unpaid fees or unresolved issues with either the building commissioner or community development, and they'll receive conditional approval contingent upon resolving outstanding matters to the satisfaction of both the building commissioner and the community development office no later than December 29th. Failure to resolve such issues by the deadline will result in automatic suspension or denial of the license. And that is Flip the Bird at 450 Paradise Road, Mexicali Cantina and Grill at 443 Paradise Road, Paradiso Restaurant at 15 Railroad Ave, and Whole Foods at 331 Paradise Road.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I still think it's ridiculous that we're charging for televisions, but that's my position, but.
We should take that up not at the conversation we renew licenses, David, because I don't think you're wrong. It is just a tough conversation to have when we're trying to, at the end of the year.
Absolutely, understood.
So maybe we can have,
January 7th then?
I think maybe we wait till the week after.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
2
you know
weeks
what,
after
I also
that.
want to talk about, the equity and the fees, just to get an understanding.
The equity and the fees.
Yeah, not for tonight.
Okay. Expand on that, just so Nick has some direction.
So you have large establishments paying the same fee, a similar fee to an establishment, maybe that's 1/3 the size.
Okay. So maybe taking a look at some neighboring peers or super peers and see how they handle common victualers and entertainment, make sure we're sort of in line.
Okay.
That would be great. Thanks. Thank you, Marzi and Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 3 on the agenda, which is an update on ARPA funds.
So at the last meeting, we had a brief discussion about, following the Kleinfelder presentation, about potentially participating in additional work with Kleinfelder in the city of Lynn. Can you put up the slide, the first one? And so one of the requests, I think, was for a rundown of the ARPA funds. It's 2 quick slides. I think you have them both in front of you. The first one is the local fiscal recovery funds, which are the ones that were completely at your in your control and have to be expended at the end of this calendar year. It lists all the decisions that were made previously there. I don't know how much detail we really want to go to. These are not things that we can change at this point, but I wanted to give you the rundown of where the funds went in the larger buckets here. And as you can see, thank you. What does it say at the top? The last vote that you all took on this was December 30th of 24 to make sure that everything was obligated and able to move forward and be expended, and we are almost completely there. Patrick's confident that we will spend all of it.
So that 5%, is that what we're talking about?
That's sort of the last of bills to come in. There might be some that would get returned, but we're very close to expending it all, and the items that were required.
Can you send us out the breakdown of what's still out there?
In that 5%?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I don't have it in front of me, but I'll be happy to send it.
And then in the event that 5% looks like it might not get spended, what's the day we have to pull the trigger to move it into another category?
We've already missed the day to
We
move
can't,
it
it goes
to
back
another
to the
category. It
government.
needs to be expended by the end of this year.
It goes
So
back.
the movement of it was last year.
By the end of,
2024, that's what we did.
I don't think that's quite technically correct.
yeah,
Okay?
it's not my understanding.
What we were advised, could be wrong, was that we established the categories, and if there were unexpended funds of a relatively de minimis amount, they could be moved around within the established categories.
The buckets we had already established.
Yeah.
Then again, we could have been given
Thank you for that
bad
No.
advice.
clarification of what I just said. Okay?
So I'll look into that with Pat.
Whatever.
Yeah,
I mean-
so it's within the buckets that exist as opposed to finding a new bucket. So
Exactly.
that is what I was missing in my inarticulate response to the first question. We cannot identify new buckets to change it to. We can move
Yep.
between and amongst. That's what I'll talk to Patrick about.
Okay.
Right.
But we don't even know if we're gonna really have unexpended, but.
I do not think that it will be significant,
Yeah.
but I will make sure that we talk about it tomorrow.
So Nick, so we have, so everything has been spoken for and allocated, but what has actually been spent, not spent as of today?
In this first slide, that last 5% is what has not been spent. Everything else has, it
Well,
was,
Where does it fit in
allocated
the
but not
buckets?
I have, that I don't have. I
Okay.
have the large number here. I don't know. So you're saying like,
The big picture.
Yeah. I do see the big picture.
Okay.
Got
So
it.
it's about $220,000 roughly, right?
I can get it for you, David. and-
No.
No.
just all jabbing each
I was
other.
literally just looking at the, and I missed.
He missed the
I missed the pie
95%.
chart.
Okay,
Got it.
okay.
Missed the forest for the trees.
Okay. I think the one that is more useful for discussion tonight is the second slide.
Right.
This is the 2.5 that was the earmark that came through the state, which gives us a little more flexibility, as we've talked about, in terms of, you all, just the earmark was, I believe, for Kings Beach improvement or the improvement of water quality at Kings Beach. It was a very broad category that would include both the work that has already been spent and you participated in with the City of Lynn, but also the IDDE and other things. They all fall into that broad description. We talked to Bill and Eric about this on the accounting side to make sure that, I's were dotted, T's were crossed, where all the spending is appropriate. Where we are here in this breakdown, what I wanted to show you, there was a question about the peer review funds. These are here. That's right. That's number one up there. I want to make sure you all knew that. The UV pilot cost, $300,000, also is living here. The phase 2 and 2A things are what I wanted to highlight for you all. If the will of the board was to participate in phase 1A that Kleinfelder suggested when they were here 2 weeks ago, which is a roughly $75,000 expense.
Phase 1A of the UV.
Phase 1A, it's the next phase.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Of the pilot thing?
correct. It was the next steps that they highlighted at the end of their presentation. There had originally been a phase 1 and a phase 2. Phase 1 was broad and included things that, both in the discussion internally, where it was Gino, Liz, myself, and others on our side, the mayor, Lynn Water Sewer, other. We, on the Swampscott side, communicated that we thought it was a little too broad because it was speaking directly to siting a permanent facility. It was talking about the design of a permanent facility. There were sort of steps that we thought we were not at yet. You all expressed 2 weeks ago that you wanted, if there was any opportunity at all to do this, it would require that we were focused on things that were gathering data that's broadly applicable, is the best way I would describe it. So it would ultimately support Kleinfelder's work as they had described, but it also would help us understand flow and design in future investment that we may make in Stacy's Brook or anything else like that. So the sort of narrowed down scope that they have now is, just to make sure I don't miss anything.
Before you
here.
go there, Nick, if
Yeah.
I may interrupt you. The only thing out of this that is ostensibly really at play or not committed at this point is the peer review money.
So
Is that correct? We have-
there's an
we've not
opportunity.
taken any steps to actually obtain a peer review at this point?
We have not.
Okay, but we have, like, the phase 2 IDDE and design, that's done. Like, right?
we're completing design so that it can go to bid. It's 99% done if it's not
So that
complete, as they talked
400,000
about
is
last week.
basically spent,
Correct.
right?
Right.
The 1.5 million is not literally spent yet. but
Correct.
That is the logical next step. Of
The 1.5 million also has a capital appropriation that
Capital
exists.
appropriation. So
Right.
if we wanted to spend some capital versus taking it all from this bucket, we would have the flexibility
That-
to do that.
So
that's
if we
where the-
want to, so let's just, so if we
Could I
want to
just-
use taxpayer dollars, we can use taxpayer dollars, or we can use this ARPA money. Let's be really clear when we're talking about this stuff. This is, using the 1.5 is giving relief to the taxpayer.
But let's also be clear, though, that, am I under the understanding that, didn't someone say that 2A is construction, we might not need to spend all that we had allocated? Is that correct? Didn't Gino say something to that effect?
I think that was
we might-
Kleinfelder.
Or Kleinfelder said it 2 weeks
And
ago.
it was that they believe under 2A, we could complete all of the work that is in that and future.
In future.
And future.
So we,
So 2A
instead of it being
Without
2A and
the
2B,
next
it would
phase,
only be
yes.
2A.
We
So
might be able to get
We're
everything.
gonna spend
That's correct, right?
1.5 million,
Okay.
no matter
Right.
what, in 2A.
But we might not
But
need
we
to
might
go to
not need a
2B.
next.
Gotcha.
They
We might
anticipate,
not spend more than the 2.5, than the
Excuse me?
1.5.
It was to be or not to be.
Right.
Right.
That is the question.
wow, that was well played by both of you. So, yes, the 75, I would say 77, because it's between 75 and 77 total if we were to move forward with this Phase 1A. Next steps that were, do you have a question?
Yeah, what's this complementary strategies report? What is that?
That's the one he spent.
Yeah,
That was.
What was that, though?
That was the report way back when that we laid out in concert with Lynn about UV and the pipe and all the other different
Okay, sorry.
options, right?
It's been a
I
while.
don't think that was with Lynn. I think we paid for that
Totally.
full amount,
Yeah.
totally, without,
Okay.
Okay, but,
Sorry.
okay, if we want to be super clear, yes, we did, but then we negotiated openly, publicly to only pay $300,000 for the UV because.
Right.
Yes,
So all things said, we're even now.
yes.
Sorry, I apologize
sure
for
we-
opening that can.
Put it back in.
So anyway,
Box.
so that's basically what I'm trying to point out is like, really all this money, except for I suppose the 1.5 million, which is a big amount, is spent or highly targeted.
Right.
And it's really if we wanted to do anything more in the further research phase that could be applied to UV or other things, it's really coming out of this peer review bucket primarily.
Yep.
That's what I'm suggesting.
yeah, I think we're sort of, that 6 1/2 doesn't, if the peer review became, I understood your comments 2 weeks ago as saying the peer review was important to make sure we move forward with.
Not me.
Not you as a board. So I would actually say,
That was me. I said that.
Sorry.
I would say it's,
responsibility for
that 100 or a small portion of the 1.5 is where that would come from.
Okay, and I'll just say, that I am adamantly opposed to not spending that 1.5 for pipe work. So that's why I categorize it as, we've said that over and over and over again. You can make the debate about whether or not we're gonna spend it capital versus here, I suppose. But-
And that's what I'm suggesting, that there's the opportunity to take some of these costs and assign them somewhere else with there is a capital appropriation that exists where you could put some of it. That's,
so wait, I'm really confused. So
Wait a minute, I'm
you don't want to
completely
spend
confused.
1.5, you don't want to spend the 1.5 that we've already
I
approved?
do,
No, we
absolutely
don't.
You guys
want to
agree.
spend it.
You agree.
All right,
Yeah,
you want to spend that?
absolutely.
Okay.
But what's on the table right now, what I think we're trying to be thoughtful about is if the, I don't want to call it the second phase of the UV pilot, because I think that,
I think we should call it the
I
second
don't want to
phase.
call
I would
it
say
that.
the
I
next
want to
step.
I want to call it the next step of, which will provide data, which can be used towards the pilot, but can also be used for other mechanisms for us to understand flow and potential costs if pilot comes to the table, right?
Or confirmation that the pipe
Confirmation.
work is actually is successful.
Is successful, right? If there's some work that can be done, and we're talking about, you said 75,000,
yes,
75,000.
Up to 77,000, just to be
77, let's call it
just to be
77.
clear.
Okay, so up to 77K. Then what you would be saying potentially is, $1.423 million would be going to Phase 2A work, and an appropriation of $77,000 would be used from our budget to cover the remainder of the $1.5 million work that would be done. So you're not saying you're taking the entirety of the $1.5 million and moving it to the taxpayer, to burden the taxpayer. You're really taking $77,000 and moving it from ARPA to
You
an
could do that,
appropriation.
absolutely. But why are we not, I mean, are we really gonna do this peer review? Why are we not?
Well, that's a great
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Are we-
I mean, so
I mean,
like,
That's what we really should be
Well,
talking about.
So to this point, we have not done it, number one.
So
As I understood last week, when I talked to Gino after the meeting, it was that I wanted to make sure we were moving forward with that. If that's not the will, and it appears to be there's some
Let's have a
disagreement,
conversation.
then that would be a great place to take it from, as you suggested,
Dad.
Vice Chair.
I don't have the technical expertise to make that judgment. I mean, this was a question back in the day,
Last year.
a reasonable one, eons ago, about whether or not we felt like we were fully satisfied with the work that Kleinfelder was doing, or if we wanted a second opinion about it. I frankly don't, I think it really came up, and Kate, you can speak to it because it was really more your idea, more about the various options as opposed to like, were they giving us the best program about IDDE, right? Wasn't this kind of in the context of the
Yeah.
the outfall or the UV, or are they really kind of assessing all the options correctly? I don't do.
I mean, I don't recall exactly the context, but I think my question is always, when you work with somebody for a very long time on very similar projects, everybody becomes very comfortable, the players all know each other, and things all sort of blur together. And is there a chance that when you bring somebody new to the table, the way you look at it changes, the way you see things is a little bit different, or you might push harder in one area that folks are ruling out right now, or a blind spot for people because of how long they've been working together. So to me, it just felt like, is there an opportunity to, have more efficiency, a different thought process, or sight in a blind spot?
It's just a double check.
Just a double check.
It's just a double
Right.
check before
I mean,
we
it's a
spend.
luxury. I'm not gonna say it's like-
We're spending millions and millions and millions of taxpayer dollars. We're raising water and sewer rates. We're allocating ARPA funds. I mean,
Financially responsible.
if we
to
made a
have double
decision,
check.
if we made a decision to do this, I think we should be moving forward with.
The other question was to have another set of eyes really looking at our overall strategy and the way we're going back and doing the IDD work. Is this what another company would actually recommend too? Because, we seem to be, at one point, we were going around a certain area and it was coming up and then failing and coming up and failing. Last time we were here, we got really good news that things
Right.
were better, but at the time when this came up, there was a lot of failures, there's a lot of questions, what's really going on here? I think it's a really good safeguard to double check, to make sure that we are going in the right.
But let's also go back to this $77,000 request. So, we've had numerous discussions over the last several years about, the fact that we're gonna spend this money. We can fix our pipes, but we're still likely going to need a supplemental solution to have the beach open 90+% of the time, 95, unless it just does not rain all summer. The beach will be closed as a result of these kinds of impacts, due to rain, which we saw during the 59 days.
None of this is gonna solve the rain issue.
Correct. No, yes. So my question is, whether we move forward with the UV or whether we move forward with an outfall, is this $77,000, is this useful in the UV and the outfall, or just for the UV? Or
I'm not an engineer, but let me answer the question. Number one of the things is the continued conversations with the regulators, because we have not gotten meaningful feedback from DEP and EPA to understand what they think of UV. Doing sediment testing, flow testing, targeted wet weather testing, those would all inform any solution, because as an example, the sediment testing I think was discussed. I've had conversations, but I think last week even, if it turns out that there's something after the UV system or some other solution that's causing the exceedances, without doing sediment testing and without understanding the flow, we are less likely to find that in a time frame that makes it useful to us. So doing the sediment testing, understanding the flow now and the wet weather flow now would inform multiple potential solutions. Having the conversations with DEP and EPA help us understand whether or not we could even move to something where we're talking about a permanent site, a permanent solution that is built somewhere, or UV versus outflow or whatever. So it can inform all of those things. And that was sort of the feedback that we gave to Kleinfelder when we were trying to narrow the scope, to say, like, what are things that, if we're sitting here saying we're unsure that this is the solution for us, what are the things that we can be doing that could potentially inform that if everyone were to come to some agreement in the future, or could also inform alternative solutions?
Got it. And just a follow-up to that, when Courtney was here at our last meeting, Courtney?
I think
so. Yeah.
From Kleinfelder. When she was here, she mentioned that we had actually paid for some of these services that were not actually received, and they were hoping that there was a credit that was going to be applied. Do we have any idea of the quantification of that credit, and could that credit be used for some of this future?
I'd have to check. I'm not certain. The way she described it that I heard her that night was that credit was sort of built into what was billed and not billed already. So I can check. I don't have an answer for you.
I didn't hear that, but
I didn't either.
But yeah, if we can just verify that, I think that would be helpful for me making this decision to allocate additional funds.
So I guess slightly to recap. So it sounds like there's a sense that we should do the peer review. I'm ambivalent about that, frankly, at this point. But
Why?
Why am I ambivalent?
Yeah.
I understand it conceptually. It sounds conceptually brilliant.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
but on a practical matter, you know, there's pros and cons, right, to Kleinfelder and how deep they are in this, right? They know literally our pipes like inside and out, right? And our system inside and out. And we've seen in some other matters how expensive it is to get a reasonable second opinion. I'm not sure $100,000 would really get you a very thorough second opinion. So until I saw an actual scope and showed kind of literally what's being evaluated, I'm not convinced that there's probably some expression here, it's worth it. Or that it would, that's one right there. The juice is worth the squeeze. Or if you need a lot more juice to really get that second opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but putting that aside, assuming that we do want to still pursue that, I do think it would be much better if we were sitting here looking at a proposed scope of work. We're verbally talking about it, and what you've described, Nick, I'm with you, like, the first 7 points, but then you get into the last 3 points, and I'm a little bit wishy-washy about, like, the fact of, oh, but then maybe like the regulators and about a UV and about the siting and these other things, and I'm like, oh, whoa.
The sighting's off the table, right?
So there are not 7 things in what I described as the 1A scope. It is sediment testing, wet water, flow testing, and contact with the regulators to try to get fulsome feedback. The other things are what we moved and said we do not want them to be doing. We do not want permanent siting discussion now. We don't want permanent, design on what that permanent solution might look like. Those are things that we asked them to set aside, and they did to narrow the scope. So it's wet weather flow, it's flow testing, targeted wet weather testing, sediment testing, and contact with the regulators. That is the scope.
Okay, so the contact with regulators, to what end? About UV?
We still need to get an actual fulsome feedback on we provided to EPA and DEP, and the answer was sort of, we need to continue the conversation. Thank you for your information.
Didn't the EPA comment back saying, didn't the EPA have something pretty serious to say?
One of our public commenters read an email, right? But we don't understand the context what that email was, so it would be great if we did.
So we have to go through Kleinfelder to get that response?
No, but they would be a necessary part of those conversations.
My to Doug's point, my hesitation here is Kleinfelder. I have to say it. I don't know how much more money we can give Kleinfelder to tell us information that none of us can figure out on our own. It just seems like there has to be another player in this game that can give us some feedback in terms of what Kleinfelder has done for us already, right? I mean, and that's your squeeze and your juice and whatnot. Maybe we don't have the juice for it, I don't know.
Actually, I
But-
think I was making the opposite point, but that's okay.
Were you?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my concern, is that it's Kleinfelder all day, right? We don't have any other reference point other than what they tell us, or guide us towards, right? How do we know that any of that is, we don't know. We don't know
So
any of it.
I-
We're relying on them for everything, pretty
I
much.
would just caution that I think we're conflating this request with the fact that Kleinfelder does a ton of work in town. And I agree with what you're saying, and I've talked to Gina, like, there's other firms that do similar work that we could spread it around or find someone else to do certain things. I wouldn't want that concern that you have to be what stops us solely from moving forward with this, when this is an opportunity to get information that we think can be useful in
Right.
multiple ways. And
Theoretically, this $77,000 can be done by someone else.
Right.
so,
To
sure,
Katie's
Not
point, that is-
Kleinfelder.
You know, that has a different view, right? That is coming in clean without this, like,
Well, I guess
you know,
this-
historical view that Kleinfelder has. And granted, they might know our pipes in and out, but to that end, do they also know what they can and can't sell us?
Well, I guess
You know what I'm
the only
saying?
part
Because
that I
we
would
don't
push
know our
back on
pipes.
there is to say, if you're gonna have if you're gonna have commentary to the regulators, you're gonna need
Yeah.
the folks who
did the work.
to come forward and probably explain, answer questions.
But we already have that. They've already done all
Well,
of
part
this.
of the fee that in the 77,000 is having them come to the table in these conversations and engage in meaningful conversation, right?
Shouldn't they have to explain what they've done without the 77,000? I mean,
If
we've
we,
given them
I mean,
countless dollars to do
no.
this work.
The short answer is no, they wouldn't have to come to a meeting if we got a meeting with the commissioner at DEP and they were not under contract.
Maybe
with
they
us.
wouldn't have to come, but we would be able to provide all of the work they've already done,
I think-
documentation
I think
would be
there's-
nice.
Speak to it.
right?
Yeah, but I just think like for most efficient, effective conversation, to have them there is probably helpful, and you're gonna have to pay them to be there. And I think there's two separate things. One, the $100,000 related to the peer review. Obviously, when we were having conversations about peer review, we were in a different situation, right? A year ago, if you think about it, we had all these hotspots on Lower Banks and some issues on Walker and a bunch of other places, and they couldn't find it, and they were sort of, it felt like chasing tails a little bit. Like it felt like they were going in circles and we couldn't get anywhere. While I don't want to lose sight of there is still perhaps a responsible answer to still going forward in peer review, we are not in that place today. Today, and what we heard last week, or 2 weeks ago, was, you know, the work that we had identified some real issue points, which we managed, and they created effective change in those hotspots. So we feel like and that doesn't mean we won't come to another hotspot, but maybe the nature of some of this work is such that some things are easier to find than other things. And no matter who the player is, we're going to be trying to figure out where the lateral is, or where the break is, or where the, what is it called, illicit discharge is coming from. So in that mindset, I am open to conversation about understanding a scope of work related to the peer review and how that might play into today's situation versus a year ago situation. Because the fact of the matter is, we didn't do this in a year. And the information that we could have possibly ascertained a year ago is maybe not the information we're even looking for now. To understand, is Kleinfelder the right player? Are we going in the right direction? Are there any things that we're missing or that we should be looking at? So I would like to understand a scope of work related to the peer review, separate and apart. And if $100,000 can get us what we want, if it can't, then maybe it's money well spent somewhere else. If it's now $50,000 because we solved a bunch of other problems that we don't need to chase down anymore, that's important to know since we're looking for funds to spend. The secondary piece, I think, is whether or not the $77,000 towards the 1A conversation out of UV Pilot with Kleinfelder is money that is going to be well spent. I see arguments both ways. I think taking anything related to permanent UV pilot out of the picture is the only thing that made me open to this thought, because I don't want, I'm not there yet. I don't think that Kleinfelder would say we're there yet. We can't even confirm that DEP and the regulators are willing to be there yet. So why are we even going there yet? What we can do, and what is beneficial to us and maybe puts us in a financial, realistic financial ability to make a realistic financial decision on future matters, is flow data. Because if we know how much of the flow is ours, and we understand how much of that is better or worse based on the IDDE work we're doing, then we come to this table with the city of Lynn and we say, hey, the flow data shows we're at 90-10, or we're at 70-30, or we're at 50-50.
Or whatever the data
Whatever
shows.
the data shows, we're able to come to the table with more information so that we are not.
But again, we have to be confident in the data, right? And who gets us the data?
Okay.
Kleinfelder gets us the data. I just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do I know the data is what it is, or what Kleinfelder wants it to be? You know what I mean? This whole thing is so, we're so deep into this.
No. So I,
No.
Well, only because we requested
No.
public comment to happen in the beginning. I think it's not.
that's,
I know, but I understand, I appreciate it, but, okay.
Go ahead, Danielle.
okay.
Keep talking, Danielle.
So to my point, I don't know, yeah, that's just my thought. Like, I'm not so confident, right, after listening to, and this is not a knock against Kleinfelder, after listening to the presentation about the UV, all the challenges they face, the things they didn't anticipate, the seaweed, all of it, I just don't have that much confidence in a lot of what they
But we don't have to
present.
decide Kleinfelder here.
Right.
We're gonna put out a bid.
Right.
They can bid, someone else can bid.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Right.
We just need to determine if
Yeah.
it's worth it to
Right.
flow test, sediment test, wet weather test, and have communications with the regulators.
And so I would just say, the communication with the regulators, I don't get right now. So I'll just, maybe other people feel like we should do that, but I don't get that part, because it doesn't feel like we're at that stage right now.
We need to understand what their feedback is. So we are,
About what? The UV?
the UV, yes.
I don't care what their feedback is about the U. That's what I'm saying. I'm not interested in their feedback about the UV.
Okay.
The regulators.
Does any, so
Yeah.
here's a big question.
I'm not looking about doing it.
Does anybody,
So-
is there anybody at this table that sees us being able to invest millions and millions and millions of dollars in a UV facility within the next 10 years?
No.
No.
Okay, so if we,
So can
you
I-
don't, no, hold on a second. If we do not see, if you do not see that happening, why are we spending any more dollars whatsoever? I was very good last week, I didn't say a word. I honestly felt that spending $300,000 was not in our best interest. We spent the 300, we have the results. We also have comments that we should be able to have these pipes lined and secured by 2027. We are on a march to tighten this up. So I just would like to see every penny possible put into these pipes and tighten them up and get a strict IDDE work regimen in there and really do our part. That's how I see it.
So I think, did we say resoundingly last time that we didn't feel like, to answer your question, we could even, none of us could fathom putting a UV plant or treatment facility to the tune of millions of dollars in this town? Did we not say that?
We did.
So I'm, to Doug's point, I'm not sure why we're even on this path.
So
Right.
could I just share?
Please.
like,
Now you can go.
It's fine, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Like, when we're talking about if that even was the answer and if there is an appetite to do it, number one, I would assume that this is, to a comment David's made a few times, it would be a regional solution which would necessarily include state participation. I don't see a scenario in which the two communities alone would pay for something like that. I agree with you 100%. That being said, without flow data, you don't know if it needs to be the size of a sheet of paper or a legal, like the sizing of.
But no one's debating the flow thing.
no.
We're
We
not
are.
debating the flow.
Well, that's part of the
That's part of,
77,000.
without this.
But no, it's part of it, but the thing we're objecting
talking about
to is your
regulators.
last bullet about talking to regulators.
Right.
The flow, maybe David's fine with that, but I'm just saying, like, The first three, all the data collection, great, because to me, that tailors, are we really successful with the pipes or not?
Right.
I'm not saying I know that that's the end of the story and that's absolutely the holy grail.
Right.
But it certainly seemed like we were closer or right on the march. So if we kept focus on that, that's a possible full solution.
Yeah.
We've always been like, well, we need to kind of hedge our bets. We need the complementary. I'm not sure. And I'm just saying, I want to pause about all these other distractions, and I want to know definitively and tailor that data collection solely about making sure it is ironclad clear whether or not the solution can be the pipes. And that includes the downstream piece. Remember that piece
Like
too?
post-treatment.
The post-treatment, like what,
Yes, that's
right?
the sediment.
Okay, so that's the point.
So it sounds
For
like
me,
we're
it
all
is.
in agreement. Well, Mary Ellen, maybe we haven't heard your point of view, but I think the four, okay, so maybe we have, the four of us are in agreement that the 3 bullet points that you've listed
So further skinny it.
seems great.
Yeah.
What I think might be good is if you came back to us to understand how much of the $77,000 is attributed to conversations with the regulators. Are we talking about
Right.
1,000 or are we talking about 70,000? Just let us understand what that portion is and what that actually, maybe is.
What it gets you.
What it gets us.
Yeah, it's not so much about the dollars, whether it's 10,000 or
Okay.
whether, it's not the issue. It's
Right.
more about staying clear on what we're trying to solve.
So if I
For
could,
me, it might
if I
be
could
about
ask,
dollars.
well, if you're comfortable with 77, are you comfortable with less, is the real question. So if we were to go back and say, it's 4 bullets, we want 3, are you guys willing to do this? Yes, no? Like, so if there is an appetite for that, it would be, I think, easier if you could express that appetite tonight to say, data collection, yes, regulators, no, that should just be, Nick, Jared, and the elected officials trying to get in touch with DEP and EPA. But authorize that now, knowing that I will not agree to something that includes the regulators, which means in January, it would be, I'm coming back to say, we couldn't come to an agreement. It was regulators are bust, and so that would be the feedback in the future. It would be easier for me if you say, like, go forth, we're comfortable. Go ahead, David, I'm sorry.
No, I still don't understand why we wouldn't want to hear from the regulators as to whether what their opinion is of the UV. If the regulators say the UV is not worth pursuing, that comes off the table.
I understand. But if we've already taken it off the table, why do we have to waste our time being distracted with something we don't want to do?
Well, the fact of the matter may very well be that we come back and say, Swampscott's willing to join you for 3 of these 4 bullet points. So if half of this, you figure out what the regulators piece is and you, City of Lynn, cover that on your own, and Swampscott will cover half of these 3 bullet points or whatever it is. Like, there's a compromise to be had, it sounds like, and that should just be the conversation that we have. If you're looking for us to motion something that's like that tonight.
I don't know that you necessarily need to vote, it's pretty
Okay.
clear. And
But I think that's what we just go back and say.
if you want
We're not
to, feel
interested
free.
in-
But I wouldn't,
I think we made ourselves pretty clear, but
I'm just not sold on why these bullet points are really important, but, I mean, maybe I don't understand, I just don't have an understanding of it, and I would like to ask a couple of the members of the Water Sewer Commission their opinion on it, so I'd have a better understanding, but right now, I just have a hard time wanting to spend any pennies at all on anything other than fixing our pipes.
Because fixing our pipes is not going to clean the beach. It's not going to open it up. It's not going to open up Kings Beach. We've heard this over and over.
I'm not sure I'd buy that, and I don't see us building a facility to do what you think we can possibly do.
I honestly don't see us building a UV facility either. So, I mean, I thought it makes sense for us to have communications with the regulators, have the regulators give us an opinion on the UV, and that then directs potentially the City of Lynn to say, hey, you know what, this UV is off the table, let's move forward with another complementary solution. The fact is, we're looking at,
If they say no.
if they say no.
Yes, then what?
But
then we have to be the bad guys.
We don't know. We're never gonna know unless, we're just literally saying, oh, no, we don't wanna see it or hear it.
Well, no, that's making it sound like we're.
No, but
afraid
I
of it.
mean-
I'd say, okay, I've said enough.
Yeah.
No, but
I mean, is it reasonable to assume that the regulators, and every time I hear this, I think of the stupid
Mount
song, I
Up,
really
yeah.
do. The regulators will tell us, not necessarily about UV, or will they tell us what it will take, right, to remove the consent decree? Like what, it doesn't only have to be UV, is my point, right? Would they suggest something else? I don't know. This
They have.
organization sounds
Yeah.
like God,
It's
and
the
no one can
pipes.
speak to them. Yeah, and if that is what they've
15
said,
times.
I mean, so what else do we need from them, right? What other conversations need to be had if they've already told us what it is we need to do?
Just because we don't want to have the conversation doesn't mean the conversation won't be had.
Right.
It just means we're not going to pay for it.
So I don't
So
know
let's
what
just
information
say-
we could like benefit from by having that, right? It doesn't,
Right.
I can't see the value. I don't know, but maybe there is and I just don't know it.
I just feel like we're in a different mindset because of the IDDE work and the success
Yeah.
we've seen in town due to the IDDE work, so we're just in
We
a
feel like
different
we're on the right
mindset.
path and
Yeah.
we're almost at the end,
Right.
so it's hard to
Right.
say, oh, no.
But then, who knows, a year from now, we might have this conversation again and have a different perspective because we did
Could have
the
hotspots
2A
They-
work
they
and
told
we
us
still
that.
had
Right,
ago.
and I just want to highlight, they did say that we
They
get
did,
to the end
yeah.
of 2A, it might be that they say, like, there's this area that actually is still
course we
hot.
will.
Yeah, yeah,
Of course
at
we
least
will.
you have
Right.
more information
Yeah.
to make that
And
decision.
we've got
so-
1.5 million here, and we've got another 1.5 million capital, and we've got an SRF loan that we've got lined up as well. And so we've got plenty of money to finish this work and then keep going after hotspots.
Yeah,
So just to be clear, it's a further skinny this, it'll be
Flow testing,
less-
sediment,
right,
and
the
wet
first-
weather.
first-
literally
Yep.
just the testing, not the conversation.
I will talk to folks tomorrow.
Okay, great.
And is there any other?
What about the peer review? Let's be really clear to Nick about that. Because originally I was very hot on the peer review. I think, like I said, given where we are now, I request a proposed scope of work for that $100,000 and what that would be looking at. But
I
And
would respectfully ask for you to dumb down what the peer review is so that I'm gonna say it, I and everybody of the 7 people plus 1 that are listening
There's others out
understand
there.
exactly what we're talking about when we say peer review,
Okay.
in this case.
I think what's really important in the peer review is that you want to be able to come back and have somebody else to say, you're on the right path, keep up what you're doing, or take a detour here, and you
So
just
in
want
this
to rubber
case,
stamp.
the 100,000 for a peer review equals,
So it's for, I just want to ask a question, though. It's for both IDDE and UV
No.
peer review, or just?
No.
IDDE?
no, just
I
ID.
made the
ID
note,
source
Doug, I'm not
elimination.
trying to make it worse. I made a note to myself, and I wanted to ask it so it doesn't go unsaid, okay?
this is why I asked to dumb it down.
Yeah,
Yep.
no,
Okay.
this is just our work that
Okay.
we've been doing in town alone.
I will work on a scope with,
You remove that UV from
Well,
the
it has to be just
vocabulary.
in this section, because it's the
Just the
2.5
just the
for
work
the
that we-
Stacy Brook.
right.
Just the work that affects the Stacy Brook
Right.
portion, because that's the condition of the
That's the condition of the
2.5
money.
million, right? That it
Yeah,
affects
yeah,
Stacy
Yep.
Brook.
Stop talking, you
We will draft it to,
Just let me answer.
We have to. We have to, or else it's not the correct allocation of the funds
Good
that was
Lord.
allocated to us, so.
we will be certain that it represents and connects to the allocations that were made. We had a long conversation with Eric and Bill to make sure that any of this discussion would fit into that, so we will continue to be cognizant of that.
And also, we have to spend the money by the end of next year.
Correct.
So the scope has to be attainable, to be executionable by the end of
Yep.
next year. So that's
Well,
also a factor.
That actually circles back to the initial conversation about, do we need to spend this 1.5 million out
Right.
of this versus the capital?
Right.
This has to be spent next year.
Right.
So it's another reason why we need to spend it out of here.
Uh-huh.
Even
Right.
though, yeah.
We're gonna have bids in
Totally
March.
agree. And, but it's also why we thought if there was a need to cleave off a small portion, we could still spend down all of it. And, but yes, so we're cognizant of that as well.
Are you gonna make the argument about the regulators now?
No, it's not.
Nope.
I want to make a joke about the song. But I,
RNG will be here next week, fine.
Alrighty,
And the
so
peer review, just to be clear, it's not about extending the peer.
Yes,
Right?
right, that's
Oh,
why I'm
sorry.
saying.
God
All right.
forbid,
is that
Doug.
two
Hey,
E's?
I'm saying.
Two E's?
We're moving on, my friends, to,
So,
nope,
Go ahead, Doug,
no,
sorry.
we are moving on. The next one is
Okay.
just my request
oh,
for
great.
guidance from you all at a very high level, and we
Sure
talked
you
about
want
this
more
couple.
guidance from us?
I do.
I don't know.
I do.
Are we doing a UV?
Do we have our goals somewhere in the packet?
No.
No,
That
this
would
was,
be
I,
Just call.
it was?
No, I said, are we just supposed to remember? Because remember we wrote them all out?
Yeah, we had a nice little
Yes.
graph.
I think
Yeah,
my
the Excel
request
spreadsheet.
tonight at least,
Okay,
I bet Diane
my
has it.
request tonight at least was that,
I have a picture.
and that we can find the picture maybe and put it up on the screen even.
Doug has it, I
Um,
guarantee he
I don't
has
think
it.
I do. I don't know, do I?
Search whiteboards.
So my request is, as we're starting the budget process with staff in a much broader way going into the new year, is understanding priorities, service levels, strategic goals, that you all, and it can just be like, point me back to the list that you put together, and that can be how we do this, but particularly around service levels and staffing, like, we're obviously gonna be very cognizant of limiting or not creating new positions, like, that's a goal of ours from, from the outset. But, staffing is a big driver, and being creative about regional opportunities. I'm actually meeting Thatcher next week. I've had continuing conversations with Allison, where Allison and I have kicked around a few different ideas. It's not gonna balance the budget on this alone, but we're certainly being creative and open to anything that might be out there. Service delivery, what you want us to protect, what's most important, and the idea of level service versus level funding is something that we could conceivably think about and maybe come back to you with, showing you two options of like, this is what the impact would look like if we say level funding is the most important thing, or stay completely within, or what does it look like when we stay completely within the policies? How does that impact service levels? But part of what I was hoping to get from you all tonight is, if there were any particular services, parts of town government that are most important that you want us to be cognizant of, where if there's some difficult decisions to make and coming back to you, that we try to make some of them in advance, highlight them, explain to you how we came to the conclusions, but just like general direction from you all on, it's primarily level service, level fund, but the impacts and where you want us to be looking. Knowing that revenue and expenditure, we are in the red already, most likely. So there's a number of different ways and different things that we can bring back to you, but I wanted to sort of ask for your guidance on what it is you would like to see from us, what those goals and priorities might be in terms of service levels and parts of town government that you think would be most important to prioritize as we make those difficult decisions.
I have one thought, but I'm happy to yield to the chair.
No, I would love it if you went first, Doug, because if your thought is my thought, I don't have to say it.
Odds of that.
I do think we did spend time going through the goals, so I think that, from my perspective, should be the core of the frame that you're using. Out of that, one thing comes to mind. It feels like, I think it would be very difficult to go for level funding versus level service. It's probably going to be some blend, but I imagine it's going to be very difficult to stay away from level service. But I, open to creative thinking, but I think that's going to be a lot of tweaking around the edges. The thing that comes to mind is like the unused or subused property thing that came up a lot in a lot of our goals. And it's a one-time, I'll admit readily, it's kind of a one-time patch perspective. But since we are in this like trough that we hope we'll be coming out of in a couple of years with new growth, is there even like one piece of town property that we could focus in on that we don't need and could actually sell, such that we would be raising a significant amount of money in the relative near term?
And are you suggesting to apply that to the operating budget? It sounds like it.
I think that's what he's suggesting.
What's that?
I said, I think that's what he's suggesting.
That's why I asked to be
If
certain
possible,
we're all-
in certain ways or somehow or whatever, like there's,
So my personal opinion, but I take direction from you all, is I do not want to balance the budget on one-time revenue.
I understand.
If the trough extends a year, if it's worse than we expect, if something goes wrong that we can't foresee, of all the financial policies that I think we might be open to having a discussion about, that would be one that I think very broadly people in my short time here would not be in favor of. It is a very.
Depends on the property.
Yeah, but if we have, if we have stuff that's sitting around not being used,
Yeah, yeah.
and we're being good stewards of the fact that, like, not only are we not using something, but we're incurring costs or maintenance or utilities or whatever it is, you can categorize it as, selling something to balance the budget on a one-time, sale. Or you could say we're actually kind of disposing of things we don't need, and then we're creating funds that are gonna drop to free cash effectively and will be useful to us. Maybe it's not the right time frame, but if we don't start that process, then it'll never yield a benefit for us.
Right,
Well, I
I just
think
mean
too
like
that-
something, I would see it be more important to spend on other capital assets that we do need, want, and it's.
Fine, right, yeah.
But I think to Doug's
Yeah.
point, I mean, through our goals, that property discussion was a common theme, right? So that was something that a couple of us had mentioned in
Yeah.
that goal spreadsheet that we were looking at. I know that you and I were, properties in town, maybe underutilized properties in town. And I think that this is definitely the time to inventory them, right, and just see what we're looking at. I mean, to be quiet, even though we're 3.5 miles, there's a lot of property that people
Yeah.
don't think about as often, right, that could be sitting, that is sitting. I mean, there's Clark School, and there's, Earl Street, whatever. There's stuff out there that the town owns, right? So getting a good working knowledge of, what our plan is for each of these properties, maybe there is something we can consider. To your point, though, I know it's not good financial practice to sell, an asset, right, to satisfy 1 year of a budgetary crunch, but I think that we still need to know, like, our portfolio of property, like, what should we be looking at? What could we consider? Out-of-the-box thinking, maybe it is something,
And my thought on the goals was to come back in January after I've been here for 3 months to say, here's what we can do, here's what we have done. I actually would argue that this conversation is separate from what I'm asking for in budget guidance.
Okay.
We do need to do it because it's a goal that you all
Right.
prioritize and make sure that we do have a list of surplus property or potential surplus property.
Yeah.
It's not a good way for us to
Right.
budgeting.
Right.
So I think it's a dual track where, yes, we need to do that because the 5 of you sat here and went through a long meeting and identified things, and that was a common theme.
Yep.
I don't necessarily agree that it's relative to, like.
To the
my
question you're
idea of,
asking
like,
tonight, right?
How do you want me to be thinking about this as I talk to town staff?
Okay.
Well, I'm not even sure if we can, if we sold anything, if we could apply those proceeds to, I don't think they fall to free cash. I think they fall to future land
Right.
acquisition.
I
So
understand.
until we have clarification there, I'd want to certainly have clarification there. But we should check in with the Director of Community and Economic Development. I believe this was an exercise that we dove into maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago. We looked at this. This is how Pine Street came to be.
Mhm.
Yeah, Pine Street came to be through an identification process of town-owned and for-sale parcels. So I think a lot of that information already exists.
Yep.
So that's one thing. I was looking at my goals. I don't think I was in attendance at the meeting, but something else that I had thought about was, we'd looked at our budget, and we had looked at, how much we had been expending. I know the legal line had been over the last few years. Insurance had been up. Can we look at potentially RFPing our legal services for the town of Swampscott? Maybe that gives us some relief. I know insurance was something that we had also looked at. What's the timing there?
Right.
Danielle,
I
do you
mean,
have
property
any-
or health?
GIC?
GIC, yeah.
I think we have to give them a 1 year notice to.
We're locked into GIC.
Yeah. We have to
Locked.
give them 1 year notice of potentially going out.
And I have started the conversation with a consultant that helps communities that self-insure, and they also offer consulting services with GIC. It's not a silver bullet to get out of GIC because we
No.
have to have a trust that can carry these expenses. And so, absolutely, again, that's one of the things that we can absolutely look at. I know on insurance for property, they have gone out in the last 18 months to work with a new vendor.
We did that last year.
And if
Yeah.
you all direct me, I'm happy to look into legal services as well. Like, I'm happy to look at any services that you all would like me to explore, for sure. And we can, even put that on a future meeting where I just run through what we have and you guys can say yes, no, yeah, you know, like, however you'd like to move forward with something like that, for sure.
I think you definitely have, you also have to remember that we have the trash contract.
Yep.
Coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And, actually, I'd like to get that on the agenda, just to have some type of a recap from,
From DPW and the Board of Health?
no,
And the Solid Waste
from
Advisory?
the solid waste advisory.
So I think with the solid waste advisory, we need them to provide recommendations or decision points for
Right.
the board,
Yep.
as opposed to,
Just coming up and having a conversation.
yeah, it would just be useful, I think, if they have decision points or things that they want to put in front of you to
be
give a
actioned.
thumbs up or
One thing
thumbs
that's
down.
important is I want to see the board have good knowledge of what the calendar is gonna look like.
Yeah.
And when these decisions have got to be made, because,
And we met with Republic this week, Gino
Okay.
and I, to understand what any potential renewal would look like, what's on the table in the future, but yeah, we should absolutely have them, that might be a good January, early January. For
A slight
solid waste.
diversion. Are we tracking, are we getting the money back
I was
for all
gonna say
that
that.
from
Did we ever
Republic?
get those credits from the sub?
We did get credits through the first 3 months. I think we owe them on 2 bills right now, so I will check with those and see where we are. That was a question they had for us. And Gino, I know for July, August, September, had been holding them to make sure that it was matching up with what was anticipated.
Good.
Going to the question at hand, something that had come up last year that we didn't really have very good resolve on, we were not engaged with maybe all the necessary players, was the Board of Health. And understanding the health department and the Board of Health's opinions about how that needed to be staffed and what that needed to be looked like, and then we had opinions, and I don't know that we ever got to.
I talked to Gargi last week to try to
Right.
get her sense of
Perfect.
what their goals were, not only on the potential town meeting items that they've been kicking around, but I think that it would be a good discussion to have publicly with
Yes.
them and you coming together.
Yep.
You know, I asked Allison how they do it in Hunt and what the sort of organization was, and it's on my list of things to talk to Thatcher about as well.
Great. Yeah, I think there's an opportunity for regionalization there, but I am one opinion in a voice
Well, I
of
think there are a
4+
lot of
Board Health.
opportunities for regionalization, right? I mean, we've talked about that with other towns, and there's a collaborative for the IT situation. Danvers runs one, right? So there, I think, are opportunities for sure. Those are things, I mean, I'm sure those are things you're exploring as we speak.
I mean, even with IT, Joe and I have talked about, you know, he has an expertise that I don't, to see if there's an opportunity to make sure that they're either performing to scope, or if we need to, we go back out. I've also talked to EOTS, which is the Executive Office of Telecommunications and Support. You know, it's their IT at the state level. They do a free audit similar to the financial management review that I also engaged, that they're gonna start hopefully just after the new year.
Yep.
They look at a number of different items, offer best practices, and identify places that we can do things differently as well.
Yep.
So I think philosophically going forward, what I would prefer to see, and I'm opening this up to discussion of the board, is if we kept level service, what is the cost to the taxpayer to do that? Because we know we already are above level funding.
We're above
So-
the policies, correct?
We're above the policies, yeah. So instead of starting from dire, this is what it would look like if we.
Draconian.
Yeah, sort of doom and gloom. Let's start to, if services remain the same, this is what it is gonna cost us. This is how we're outside the financial guardrails, or this is sort of the repercussions of that, and then we can go from there.
one question, for me, I really want to see where we are without touching the unused levy, if we stay at 2.5.
So I can go above the policy is 2
The
plus
policy is
425
2, right? So what happens if we go
to 2.5 instead.
2.5?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if we level serviced, the likeliness of having to go above the policy is 100%, right?
Above the policy?
Above our policy,
Yes.
yes, yeah.
Into our unused levy.
Right, but I think you're talking about you're saying 2.5 is what we could be doing legally every year. You're saying not touching any unused levy
Right.
that exists beyond the 2.5 that is our limit in a single year.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that
You
distinct?
say level service, and Mary Ellen saying level funding.
Going draconian on me.
She's above level funding by the policies.
She's
And-
just saying
I'm just saying-
the
Yeah.
tax levy
There's
would
a different
what's
ceiling.
there.
stay the
There's a
same.
different
So-
ceiling.
Yes.
We show both, or is
You're
that
not
a lot of
touching.
work?
No, we
Yeah.
can do
Okay,
both. We
great.
can show both.
Let's show both and see, I mean, likely we get somewhere in between, but let's see.
I do think, though, that we never really did resolve that conversation that started last summer about the health department, to your point, Katie, and that is something being, you know, a department of town hall, and to your question, excuse me, that we need some type of closure resolution to understand FTE wise, right? What are we looking at? What is the answer there for that particular department?
And for the board, you're the,
I am the liaison.
that's what I thought, okay. Because I think it might be useful to have either a liaison chair, or chair meeting in that case, and then also have, you know, all three of them come in and speak to their goals, priorities, and everything as well.
Okay.
So that it's a public discussion between you and they as well.
Because really, I mean, after, you know, if we talk about town departments, we're talking police, we're talking fire and DPW. There are a lot of these things that are out of our control, right? Police is what it is, fire is what it is. There's not, you know, in terms of positions and, you know, with contracts and things of, you know, collective bargaining agreements, there's not a whole lot of discussion to be had, right? So it's really the town hall building that needs, I guess,
I mean, it's true in every
Closest
community that sort
scrutiny.
of, you know, schools, public safety,
Yeah.
DPW are always the things that people are building their budget from, and
Right.
it's, you know, there's hard decisions to be made in all those places
Right.
in some cases, but those are, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, those are the priorities that everyone would be focused
Yeah,
on to start
exactly.
Across all, you know, public safety and school and education are bedrock in most communities, so.
You know, but if we could be looking at, I mean, efficiency-wise, streamlining-wise, you know, how we run things, how our procedures are, you know, what where we can make things, you know, work more efficiently, right? How we can do that. If we're utilizing our FTEs to our advantage, do we need more? Some,
Yeah.
you know, in the assessor's office, whatever it might be, but it's a real deep dive on the FTEs that we need to do.
I think we spent most of the year trying to figure out the right formula increasing FTE, right?
Yeah.
Like we pared back assessors, we pared back a couple of things, and then we had to sort of correct.
Just, yeah.
And so now we have to determine if there is nowhere else to readjust,
Right.
then how we pay for it.
Right.
That's
Right.
really the question at hand.
Yeah.
So services versus funding.
Versus finding one-time things to help patch a hole. Because I
How
just
about
feel like
simultaneously find
Yeah,
it?
that's just-
Sure,
that's-
but I just
Yeah.
feel like, you know, we went through in excruciating detail that budget last year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not, oftentimes people will say things like that, and it seems like an exaggeration, like, I mean, we were looking at
We did.
$500,
Yep,
right?
We did.
We did.
You know, so I just do not feel as though you're going to, like, find,
Yeah.
you know, $500,000 or $1 million or whatever by, like, scratching at all these little places.
No.
I don't think so either.
So, and we know we have a curve. So, I mean, I'm looking up the rules about selling stuff. It doesn't sound like it's impossible to do that.
Right.
You know, if you need $1 million, you got to look at places where you're going to find $1 million.
You have to remember that in last year's budget, there was a major mistake to the tune of, what was it, $440,000? That we had to dip into, plus we used, what, $1 million that we weren't planning on using? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
Last year wasn't just a bad year, it was a really bad year. There were
Exactly.
really bad things that happened last year. And we were also given some poor information, and we're gonna have to be coming off of that. So, you know, trying to stay out of this unused tax levy is, I don't see how we're gonna be able to do it, but we've just gotta really drill down. I mean, we took ourselves out of the assessors because of a philosophical theory from the past town administrator, which, and I'm not knocking him for it whatsoever. He had more experience in assessing, he felt that he could add to that department, and then we ended up putting more money into facilities, facility director, an assistant to the facility director, and these are things that all have to be looked at, and, you know, you have to start putting your philosophies together on what are the best ways to operate a community.
But he needs our guidance.
Yeah,
to
for
do
sure.
so, Yeah.
We gave him something to start with.
We did.
Oh, well, I just want to second David's semi-motion about relooking at the law firm. So, because that
Yes.
you
Yes.
voiced that, and I don't think we came around
Yeah.
to actually saying, do we all agree that that
Yeah.
seriously should be looked at?
Does it work for you if I were to come back with, outline the process? It's outside of 30B, so you don't actually have to do a real procurement process in the
Yeah.
same way that you do for something like Hawthorne.
Yeah.
But if I could come back in January and say, here are the steps that we would undertake and, sort of the model we would follow, you guys can then actually weigh in on the idea then as a group? Does that work?
Do we
I
even
think
need the
there's two
steps?
pieces to it. One is can we get a better deal? And let's just be frank about it. There's been, up and down feelings about KP. And so is that about them? Part of it, yes. Is it also about the way in which, at least it seems opaque to me, about how legal dollars get spent? And is there a way in which we could control our expenditures more? So there's actually, I guess, three pieces altogether there.
So if we were, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think one way we can control legal expenditures is that KP typically provides a memo of legal guidance for almost every question we ask. And there should be some sort of library available to town hall employees that they could access that memo so that we are not asking KP multiple times
The
for
same
multiple questions. Multiple times for the same answer.
Absolutely.
Circumstances change and that changes answers. That's why I have a job. But for the most part, we are asking very similar questions. And we should be able to just pull up, oh, last year we asked this question about how the language of the liquor license things should go. And this is, I think the other more important piece is, what is the piece that we're being charged for hourly by KP? What is the work that they're doing consistently that we are charged hourly for? And how can we somehow get that into our scope of work so we're not charged hourly for that? Because the hourly rate is what kills you.
Right.
And where are we going for outside, to outside legal help, outside of KP, whether it's, RFPs or LDAs or however else, and how much money is being spent there? And is there a reason we're going outside? Why can't we go to KP? Is it probably because we need more rapid answers in some instances and we're not getting that from KP? So how do we make that clear to KP that we would be going to them with some of the stuff if they were more responsive?
So the idea of them just recycling an opinion should be within the retainer. That is not
Okay.
something that they should be billing us for hourly. The way Lauren describes it is that anything that is not adversarial, so you're not preparing for ZBA, you're not preparing for litigation, is within the retainer. It appears, looking at the memos from the last couple of years, that they have aggressively said we need to raise the price, and it's not necessarily just
Absolutely.
not just a 20 an hour or 10 an
Right.
hour. So, and they do a blended rate that is, obviously different from other firms. I don't want to speak to it. The idea of the RFP, it would be a qualification and a cost proposals, a price proposal. So the idea, just to give more info, would be like, we get the right mix of appointed, maybe elected, and staff to do a broad panel interview. And we put forward a recommendation that limits it to the ones that would come in front of the full board to ask questions. You would have our recommendation along with the questions, and you would know who had been on that panel. And you would at that point also have the cost proposal to go along with whatever our recommendation was. I think it's also reasonable that we would break it out and say we want labor and general as two different proposals, because there's 2 or 3 firms that do very good labor work that will only bid on labor work, that at least will drive the conversation. You get a different view of like what they offer versus a larger firm, or, there's a handful of firms that are all between 12 and 25 attorneys, then there's KP, and, then there's a couple of labor firms. So I'll come back with more detail, but it would get to both price and qualifications. They would ultimately come before all of you all, and you can tell us if there's 5 respondents, you only want to see 3 or 2 or all 5 if you want. But it ends up being a relatively long interview process for you all as well, because it's a 45-minute to an hour panel that you would be doing to make sure you have a comfort level with the firm. The other thing to control costs since I started is I asked Tom to make sure that anything that he's responding to comes back through me, which I know he said he has done in the past. I don't know how much they've stuck to that, but it then gives me a sense I also told department heads that I want to know before they write to him. So, you know, that was belt and suspenders, that if they didn't write to me in the beginning, or copy me in the beginning, I was hearing back when Tom got back to them. So it's been relatively good, you know, I know Rich, Marzi, others will come, either come up, or grab me in the hallway to say, I have a question that might be going to them. Is this good with you? We've had, the question you raise is one I ask them, like, have we seen this before? Do we have this in email somewhere? But the way Lauren describes the fee, it should all be included within the.
But you have to remember, a retainer, so we have the retainer, but every time you're calling and they're using the retainer, that's still clicking. And then what they do at the end of the year is they say, oh, we had to speak to Swampscott 1,000 hours. That is a lot more than what covered in the retainer. And then they have to increase the retainer. So the retainer excuse, we really can't use. You know, we have to
But I
stay
mean,
off the phone.
I think I've seen opinions that were forwarded from 3 and 4 years ago. I'm sure you did as well.
Yeah,
It was
well, we
21,
just had one,
22,
we just had one a couple weeks ago.
That was the case with the tax hearing.
Right.
I got two. One had gone to Sean, one had come last year. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's a question that's come up. So I completely understand what you're saying, and I know with other firms, we went through this in Milton, other firms talk about how their retainer might be different. You know, ultimately, it's the same idea. If you use them too much, they're gonna raise the fee. And each firm sort of operates differently in terms of this idea of like the library or something like that. On the contract side, some of the firms say, we don't review contracts, we just tell them to use ours, and if they don't want to do business with you, they can leave. So this is all, I will put it into a presentation that just outlines like the 4 or 5 steps, and then that would be something I would ask you to just vote to make sure that everyone's fully open and on the same page, that it's something you'd like to move forward with.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's,
I think it's probably the biggest area that could make an impact monetarily.
only area we have left.
I personally, I think that.
What'd you say?
I said, I think it's one of the only areas we have left, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Like, we didn't
Me
look at
too.
it last year.
That doesn't affect
We didn't have
actual
time,
FTEs,
And
right?
so,
It's the biggest.
you know,
Yeah.
it has come up in the
Overtime,
past.
overtime
is
is,
also another
I
area,
think
Well,
overtime.
that's a different, that's a whole different animal.
but
And the other thing with legal, if you're comfortable in advance of me giving you that presentation, I can just reach out to the firms that would be most likely to respond and make sure that they have capacity to even respond,
Yes.
so that we don't go down this
Wasting
process
time.
and find
Right.
out that there's no one else
Right.
available right now.
is there like an end of year summary we get from KP to say where most of our money is being spent? Like, is it in labor? Is it in, like, do they do a little?
I can request that, I don't know.
I've never seen that.
They'll charge you.
The
Yeah,
firm
they
we
charge you to
had, the
do
firm
it.
we had in Milton was a small South Shore firm that didn't, I would not be surprised if KP had something like that, but I
Yeah.
don't know, just based on
Just given their size, I
their
would think.
complexity, yeah.
And how many municipalities they have that are
Yeah.
probably asking for something like that, just to know the sort of the subject matters that we're asking about.
And as a reference point about exiting the GIC, if you needed to speak to somebody, Danvers has done it, and I have spoken to their director of HR about it. Jen Breaker, she's the assistant town administrator there.
Okay.
Without having to pay a consultant, she can tell you the ins and outs of it.
What do they use now?
Blue Cross. Blue Cross.
When did they go to Blue Cross?
It's probably been 3 or 4 years now.
Because Boston went to Blue Cross a year ago.
And that's when we talked with Sean, with
Started
someone
looking at
that
it.
they suggested
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Danvers, I've also spoken to her about their IT collaborative that they run. So they handle the IT for Middleton, Oxford, and a couple of other towns. Danvers IT is like contracted to.
Yeah.
They actually, they
They're a
helped
collaborative.
us, they helped us with a matter last year, and they were really great. They actually looked at a couple of things and said, you know, you are
You
at
don't have
risk.
this,
You're
and
at
this.
risk here, here, and here.
I'm not an IT person, there were things I would change. So hopefully the review at the state level will give us an actual roadmap to go to Danvers or go to another vendor and say, these are things we want to be focused on.
Well, especially with that collaborative.
Yeah.
That, I
Well,
was
it's
really-
just-
I was impressed with them last year.
Other towns have done the legwork, so it's like, why reinvent the wheel? If somebody else has already figured out they can contract
Make it
Danvers for
work.
cheaper, then why don't you do it? So.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda.
I speak to that real quickly?
You may.
Wait, we're not talking about the calendar, or is that calendar in
The
the
calendar's
consent?
in the
It's in the
consent agenda, but
consent
let's
agenda.
let Nick talk about what he would like to talk about first.
On the Housing Authority, there was a question about a special municipal employee designation being necessary for Ken to be appointed. Chairman Patsios had suggested that we look into that because he does legal work within and before town boards. In talking to KP about the special municipal employees, it's by position, not by individual. So if possible, I would like to set this aside until the first meeting of January as well, because you as a board would designate Housing Authority, Planning Board, ZBA, whomever, as special municipal employees to allow this. We wouldn't do it on an individual by individual basis. It would have to be all the members of the board are made special municipal employees.
And that would allow him to be on this and to continue to.
Yeah, he's still disclosing. He still has to disclose, but it allows him.
Necessary.
Yes.
Without that, he could not be on this board?
Correct.
How long have they been without two individuals, do you know?
I do not.
I think it's been a few months. I know Kelly Russo is, I attended the last meeting. She's the president of the Tenants Association. She's been attending these meetings regularly. She just doesn't have a vote.
We can approve her.
Yeah.
Is there an issue with approving her and not having them here as a joint meeting?
I do not believe so. You raised that tonight. I had not heard that previously. It's an appointment, I
No,
believe.
they voted publicly twice now.
Right.
To make this recommendation. I didn't think it was necessary for them to attend something that was as perfunctory as appointing two individuals with that.
We could always appoint them, and if there's an issue, we can address that later.
So I would only appoint her tonight, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as not to put Ken in a
Yes,
position
yes.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, we just wanted to add
Correct.
him to the agenda in the event that we did get.
That we were
the
able to
answer
get this
ahead
all
of-
done.
ahead of
Yeah.
tonight.
That's right.
Okay,
Okay, so moved.
So the only other thing that I want to note is that on the tentative select board dates,
Oh, we only have to meet once every 3 months now? That's the new schedule? No kidding.
no, this one.
I know, I'm kidding.
But it does say, like, February is a question. So the week of February 18th is February vacation. So if it's the will of the board, we could push to the 25th, or we could have it earlier on the 11th. We could also take off the 4th and just meet the 11th and the 25th, so that we're outside of vacation and we still meet twice. But a decision really should be made before we vote.
Well, I think the only people that it affects, I think the people it doesn't affect is Doug and I, so I really think whatever's better for the three of you with children that are in
What
school.
about you, Nick?
I would also like to
And
be able
Nick.
to go away.
And Nick, yeah.
Yeah, so why don't we, I guess, I would propose we just meet the 11th and the 25th then of that.
Does that work for you?
Does that work for you?
That's still
Yeah, no,
twice that month.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Just having
And
that
not-
week available is
Oh,
helpful.
so not meet the 4th?
Yeah, I actually may be away the week of the 11th.
Okay, so you want to meet the 4th and the 25th then, Doug?
Yeah.
Okay,
Even
so
though I don't
then
have,
we'll take a long break from each other in February. So we'll meet the 4th and we'll meet the 25th then. That would be the proposal.
And do we have a date for any financial summit?
Yes.
So, Tri-Chair is meeting on the day after our next meeting, so the 8th.
Okay.
And the hope is that we will have a topic and a next mini summit date to move towards.
Does the school committee have a new chair? Are they using the vice chair?
I invited the vice chair to Tri-Chair,
Who is that?
Come on.
Glenn, pastor. So I invited him to join us, and if the school committee appoints a interim chair in the meantime, then I will hope that Glenn would pass the invitation along.
Very good.
Great.
I just want to vocalize that we are in budget season. It is coming. And the longer these financial summit meetings take, I don't want to turn into Doug, but I'm just saying, you know, we've got I know the Tri-Chairs meeting, now it's 2 or 3 weeks out. And,
Yep.
you know, I'm just
Big
concerned.
holidays happening.
I know,
next
I
2 weeks
know.
If you guys don't notice.
I know,
And
but I'm
also,
just
we've
saying.
lost a member of Tri-Chair, so now we have to bring a new member in.
I know.
So I hear you, I
Just
take the
saying.
criticism.
No, no,
And I will do my very best to pressure us to get a very close date in January, as fast as possible to continue discussion in January. I will,
Yes.
if that's the will of this board, I will convey that to them.
Well, we're a little bit off topic, right? We're on the consent agenda. We're kind of, just FYI, but.
We're talking about
I
the
guess it
calendar.
doesn't-
We're talking about the
Board
calendar.
meetings.
Right.
We're on
Let me
topic.
ask
We're
if
talking about the
that
calendar.
Was the part of the calendar.
Okay, fine. So then,
If you want, we can wait till select board time to keep that
it's
conversation going.
fine. No, it doesn't
6
matter.
to 1,
So,
that's not the other.
sorry. I agree with Danielle, and I think we were quite clear that the clock is super ticking about the school budget. And that was what correct me if I'm wrong, clearly said we thought the next topic should be. And I'm not sure why it has to wait for a tri-chair meeting to email people and say, can we have our next summit meeting about the school budget? And get someone to come in and give an education. We said the education was really important.
Yeah.
So is it not possible to coordinate actually just getting the summit?
It's now a
What is-
bi-chair, it's not even a tri-chair, it's a bi-chair. I mean, why don't we just scrap the chair and just have another
it's hard to
meeting, you
scrap
know?
the chair of the committee for which you are basing your next conversation on, so.
No, I'm not suggesting that. but-
So what we did last time
Danielle.
was we met in tri-chair, we crafted an agenda, we determined who was gonna speak and what the direction of the conversation, we thought the direction of the conversation might go in, and then we picked a date. So that is what I hope to do on the 8th. It is our wish is that the next conversation is about school budget. FinCom met Monday and discussed the questions they had for school in advance of their budget coming forward. So there's some context there that I would like to understand that we can hopefully put towards that conversation related to the next mini thing. But if you all want to send me your feelings on what you think an agenda could be, if you can send them to Nick and we can compile them so we're not violating open meeting law, then I can bring that forward as all conversation topics for
I
the
think,
8th.
I think the question is, why do you, like, why not just have a meeting? Why not just be requesting the school and the finance committee? Can we get a
Like
meeting
we did the last one.
that first
Pick a
week?
date, say, can you do this?
Yeah, let's,
Because we all know how long it takes to get everybody in the same
Right.
room. Like, why are we just
That's
like
why we're
sending out an
hesitating.
email
Like, if you're gonna
saying,
wait till January 7th.
Just to have a
that
conversation about conversation.
Right.
Then we're at the end of January, the school budget's done.
right.
it's like,
Okay, so when do y'all want to meet?
Could be January 7th.
That's our meeting, isn't it?
Right.
Yes.
maybe we send out
Last
one of
time the
those
school,
poll
last
things
time we
or
did take the
whatever.
school committee's time, and we used their time as that meeting. So if you want to take a select board meeting and make it that, we just have to then move around anything that
Or
we.
January 14th.
So the suggestion would be, well, the 21st would be the meeting, but if you want to see 3 weeks in a row, then yes, the 14th.
Or I'm fine, we can meet
Or
at
the
6
21st.
o'clock and get a
What
couple
about the
of select
8th?
board time done, and then at
What
7
about-
o'clock, have everyone
What about what?
join.
What about January 8th?
What about it?
Can we shoot to have all three committees on January 8th, or the 7th or 8th?
Well, we can shoot for whatever you want, but we are 2 weeks
I
out.
don't think you're gonna have enough
I
time
don't
to
think
do
we
January, to do January 7th
Does it make
or
sense to
8th.
send out a
There-
poll?
There's
to the
not a real
three
full
committees
week
and see what
between
we-
now and January 8th,
Yes.
All
in
right.
fairness.
Yeah.
So I think
All right.
you're,
All right.
the first time that you could possibly meet
Right.
would be January 14th. Or 13th.
Why don't we sub the 21st, January 21st meeting? Why don't we say, school committee, thank you so much for offering your last committee up as this mini summit. We're offering the 21st as the date for the mini summit.
Excellent.
Select board already meets on that date, and having known that, we will take anything that we need to discuss on the 21st and either push it to the 7th or push it to the 4th of February.
That sounds like a great idea.
So moved.
Just know that by that point, we're far in, right?
We're too far in?
No, we're not too far in, but the decision, the school budget by that point is, we can ask as many questions and put as much education out there, right? But it's a very short window between,
If we had talked about it being an opportunity for education, though, what input are you hoping to get out of it other than the educate, just so
understanding
be
how they
planned.
build, I don't know, from my understanding,
FinCom had a lot of questions. We have a lot of, unresolved issues with accounts and whatnot and thought process.
MOUs and what
Yeah,
exists
I mean, there's a
and what
lot of
doesn't.
stuff floating out there that directly affects their budget, which in turn affects
Okay,
our
so do you want me
budget,
to
right?
suggest the 14th?
No, I'm just saying, like, I would prefer to not go past that, because I think that,
Okay, I
Can I pick up, because I think it's exactly the right question, just for expectation setting for all of us.
right,
Correct me, by charter, or whatever, like, we don't have the purview
No.
to give any type of direction
correct,
to the school committee
Correct.
about the formation of their budget,
correct.
right? So, just kind of working back from that premise, so that we're kind of level setting and not thinking that we're gonna be able to
Yeah.
kind of like, guide,
Absolutely.
suggest, or recommend or anything, right?
Right.
Therefore, getting something in January would be good, so that when the school committee does
Yes.
present their budget,
Correct.
people are up to speed already and they're hearing it in an educated
Yes.
we've
state.
level set the
Yes.
knowledge,
Right,
right?
right.
We're comfortable, FinCom is more comfortable, the schools can understand where we're coming from, and vice versa. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for say or input, we're just looking for, an equal playing field so that everybody understands everybody else's intent, right?
And the number one thing for me in this conversation with schools is that I always feel like there are understandings that exist, and I feel like I'm always the last person at the table. And so like, I want to understand how many MOUs are out there and what people feel like those MOUs say and obligate people to do, so that we can all manage expectations, and it's not like the golden ticket that comes out of town meeting, like, here's this MOU that we signed 3 years ago. Like, we all understand it and we all have the same bits of information.
Right.
That's one of the most important pieces for me.
Now, having said all that, what is the mechanism by which formally the school committee understands, again, formally, of course it's in the ether, formally understands our financial position, the town collectively? How does that get communicated? How does that get taken into consideration as they formulate their budget? Is that?
That's through
At
communication.
a
with
very
the
high level,
yes.
it's different in different communities.
Yep.
Yeah, so like Winthrop, the town administrator manager, is someone I know from Linfield, and he's been in a couple other communities. What he tries to do is to set like the base budget to say, including expenses, and like all in on each side, this is what you all get and what it covers and what it, what you're paying for and, what's not covered in that, what are shared services, what, and it's a baseline to say like, so your number is X, the town operations is Y, the debt we carry is, but that, in all honesty, I was talking to him about it this week, like, how did he get there? Because part of my job here is to understand how we've operated here over time. I have no interest and desire in changing everything in 2.5 months into my time here. It's working within, and so it's a conversation I need to have with Eric. I can talk to Glenn, I can talk to you further. Obviously, Jason and I are the two newest to this, and so I need to get a better answer for you, but it's different in every community is the
It
short
is.
answer.
So could I say?
Historically,
for
it's
example-
really the same. So what historically has always happened is the town administrator has a conversation with the superintendent, and then the town administrator gives the superintendent a number.
Right.
And the past superintendent would always work with the town administrator and had very difficult numbers to work within, and yet she worked within all those numbers.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would caution that is a bigger driver right now is special ed education and special ed transportation are wildly expensive and change significantly with just a single student in the census either way.
Correct.
So the pressures are slightly different than it may have been, 7 years ago or 5 years ago. I just want to highlight that.
Talking 2 years ago.
Yeah, we're talking 2 years.
2 years,
Great.
we're talking
And
2
we have a
years ago. I don't
circuit
think those
breaker.
pressures
We
are
have a
really,
circuit breaker to deal with that, right?
we have
Special reserve fund.
Special reserve fund now.
We have
Okay.
special, we have circuit breaker,
Special,
special
yep.
reserve, and then we have our emergency reserve within the town.
Great.
So I guess,
going
working
back-
back for it logically on this, then, for me, you've already kind of given us a preliminary
Right.
hole that we're in, right? In the conversation you were almost having with, we were having kind of earlier, now this comes in a different frame for me. For example, if we met on January 7th, continued this conversation, and were more specific about the fact that collectively we believe we don't want taxes to go up, more next, so therefore we want to stick to 2.5 and not tap into levy. That would then give you very specific information to be sharing with the superintendent so that they don't get to the 11th hour planning their budget
Right.
in a way which is perfectly reasonable from
Right.
like kind of what their
What they
needs
need,
are,
right.
but still may
doesn't
be a
align
significant
with
what they
mismatch
can
with
afford.
our financial
Right.
realities.
Right.
Right, that's where we seem to always kind of have
Exactly.
the mashup, right?
Exactly.
And that's,
We haven't given that clearly,
In enough
that
time.
direction.
Right.
and that's why we've had 3 budgets previously. We've had the school committee, the
Right.
superintendent's budget,
Right.
the
Right.
town administrator's budget, and FinCom's budget.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, for point of reference, Linfield just yesterday asked for a 4.9% increased budget, school budget. They presented, right? So Tom Gary, superintendent, presented his budget yesterday to the tune of 4.95% increase. Where is Swampscott in terms of that preparation, right? Do we know? Do we have any idea? I have no idea.
No idea.
Well, what is the time?
The
don't
time,
have to
they're,
present
they don't
the
have to
budget.
present yet.
They don't, but I'm saying, like, that, there are towns that already are that far into their budget process at this point, where they know what they're asking for, what their needs are. So for us to wait another month, to your point, like, the schools are gonna be, do they have a financial understanding of where we are, or what?
The anticipated increase from the schools last year was going to be over 4%.
Cheryl's comment to Cinder was that it would be between 3 3/4 and 4, not over 4.
Okay.
And she very specifically asked that if you were to get everything that you're asking for here, are you at 2.5 or below? And Cheryl said no. I think what we're looking at is really,
When was this?
it was last spring. I can find the date, but I've heard it from Eric, I've heard it from other members
Okay,
of the
good.
finance committee, and I believe I even heard it from Jason. I don't want to make sure, I don't want to quote Jason on it, but
Yeah.
I've certainly heard it from FinCom members that
Right.
that was a question that came up and was very directly asked and very directly answered.
but that was last spring for this.
Correct.
Okay.
Look, going forward, if we give you everything you need right now, are you good and can stay within 2.5 going, in future years? And
Right.
said, no, I don't think that's realistic, was the answer.
It was like
So
if
my
we
point
made
is,
up
they
the steps,
probably very well already know
they said no.
what it is they've created, if, for example, Linfield knows, right? I would think they're on a similar timetable, right? So the conversations need to be happening now, is what I'm saying, all right, to Doug's point, because the longer we wait, like, the more, they're thinking this way, we're thinking this way, there's the big divide, here it comes again, to David's point, the 3 budgets,
Yep.
right? This is what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah. Okay, so we're back to the calendar.
Maybe we just start polling and seeing,
I would just like to say this is when it's happening with the
Okay.
treasurer. Because polling is just a mess, and
Okay.
everybody's got opinions, and nobody's ever gonna be fully
Okay.
happy. So I would rather just say,
this is
the
the
four-
next, for
these
the
are the
next
2
summer.
dates that work for select board. Please figure out if any of those 2 dates work for you.
Okay,
Great.
So if that's the 8th and the 14th, or whatever the 2
Sure.
dates you guys come up with right now, you tell me. So if it's the 8th, I will email them tomorrow and let them know. If that doesn't work for you, and you wanted to try the 14th and the 21st felt too late, so,
And the request is for them to educate on how they put together the budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
and then for us to unearth all the MOUs.
Yep, I have that.
And understand their understanding of the MOU and our understanding of the MOU and how that affects budget.
yep.
Right.
Great.
And, and of course, the Nahant Fund.
Right.
And
Revolving
utility
funds,
fund.
Well, that's part of the
and-
MOU
Those are the
question, right?
MOUs.
'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
How-
the
how-
Nahant's not a.
The Nahant's not,
Yeah.
but the utility, for me, the MOU related to the utility and how it then didn't get budgeted,
Right.
and that's an understanding
Right.
situation.
Yep.
And so, like, putting it all out there on the table and saying, no, that's not how we understood it, and where those understandings came from, we're gonna have to work through some of that.
And then on our January 7th meeting, I guess I'm suggesting that we try to provide, have a discussion and try to provide more clarity on the financial bandwidth that we're shooting for.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
Can you say that?
Yeah, is it,
Yeah.
is it 2.5? Is it 2?
Okay.
Is it $1 million into unused levy? Is it level funding? You know, really kind of pushing this conversation
What we
further.
realistically can say that we're comfortable with.
Right.
And really understanding that. Not giving a mixed message, right? Not saying minus 2%, right?
Right.
You know, and we really know it can be 2.5, or whatever the case is, you know?
So so going back to the calendar, I'm gonna put 114 as an option. Is there another option? Because we felt like 121 was too late.
1.8.
114 is, yeah, option 1, and 1.8, option 2.
I just want to, from the staff standpoint, say again,
Possible
1.8
but-
is,
It's not it.
I don't know what we're asking. I'm not entirely clear what we're asking them to tell us, or teach us, or educate us, but there's not a full week until that second week in where staff doesn't have time off, or we could not reasonably anticipate that staff would have time off between now and that week of the 8th. So we'd be asking them to do it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week, is that right?
Yeah, that.
I don't understand what the issue is. There's two different things here, Nick, right? One is for the schools, we're talking about 1.8 or 114. For the schools, all we're asking them is to kind of explain to us collectively, the big committee meeting, multi-committee meeting, just take us through your process, try to get us, make sure, the complaint has been like, people haven't taken the time to get educated, right? Glenn had a fair point. People haven't taken the time. There are classes, there's this, there's that, right? So we're asking, we're gonna have a school session, educate us about the school budget, okay? And about the MOUs. That should be something that I think Cheryl could do tomorrow, if, you know, we
Okay.
asked her to, right? So,
I mean,
That's
there's got to
that.
be, listen, there's got to be a clear understanding of the 2025 budget was a budget where multiple members of the school committee came in to town meeting and said, this budget that the town administrator, the finance committee, the select board gave to the superintendent, this budget does not cover what our needs are, and we need another $400,000. And during that town meeting, we had a lot of drama, a lot of hard feelings. First it was added, and then the next day it was decreased. There was an additional $400,000 on the table. We go through this budget that was not enough, go through the budget in 2025. At the end of the year in 2025, there is close to, what was it? Almost $600,000 that was left in the revolving account. So there has to be a real clear education as to how there was so much excess funding that was left in a revolving account. These are all the conversations that we need to have and understand how does that play into the future budget.
and that's the school side. So back to your
Right.
concern about town staff. So I'm not,
I don't
I'm
really
not sure
understand
how
how
much
they play
their
in.
work there is for you.
I was talking on behalf of school staff,
Okay.
being
Okay.
able to do that.
Okay.
I was just saying staff of
Now that
the
I've,
town of
now that I've said
Swampscott.
that, do you feel like that's unreasonable burden
Reasonable
on
ask?
them to prepare that type of basic information for a January 8th meeting at this point?
I think we should ask the vice chair. I don't want to speak for, I was just cautioning the fact that between now and then, next week is Christmas, the week after is New Year's.
I'm gonna put both dates, I'm gonna make both dates an option, and then we can all fight about it
Okay.
ourselves.
I was only highlighting the calendar, not saying that it
Yeah.
is or is not.
I would go out
It
on
might
a
not
limb and
work.
say that Cheryl Stella could do it in 24 hours, honest to God.
Well, let's
I have that
not
much faith
commit
in her.
to it.
No, I
Let's
would
just-
never, but I have
let's
that much
just-
It's a
faith.
compliment to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've, so
Absolutely.
I will work for a 1.8 or 114 mini summit on schools. We will discuss a broad explanation of school budgeting and how it comes to formation and the MOUs and the understandings of those MOUs. And I will also ask Eric and Glenn for any other topics they wish to discuss, to add to the agenda. And that is where I will leave that,
And I will move the consent agenda
as amended.
as amended. Mr. Switzer.
Sorry, now I have lost the consent agenda.
Okay.
Okay, great.
You're moving it, just removing
Removing
Should serve.
2B.
For the moment.
Until January.
Second?
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Very good. Okay, so now we have select board time. Y'all stole my topic already, because I was gonna talk about tri-chair and where things are going, but let's get ahead of the game for the next part of that conversation, which is the following conversation was going to be our financial boundaries and guardrails, but now it feels like talking about that in February is maybe
Too late.
Too late.
To be honest.
Doug's gonna say, "I told you so." Not that's on the tip of your tongue, but
Well, me.
There's a lot of projecting going on here tonight. I don't know.
There's
Doug, yeah,
a-
Dodge.
there's a
Okay, I forgot the sweater. I'm sorry, okay?
So then I'm open to feedback about conversations. You know, if we meet on the 8th, maybe we really want to hang out in January. You guys want to meet again at the end of January, but I'm open to thoughts, and you don't have to have them right now, just get them to me.
I don't think it'd be shocking to me to say that we would need a third summit, even though we may express our desire and guidance. January 7th, we give total lucid clarity. The schools, are still gonna produce their budget.
Right.
We're still gonna be going through our budget process. There's still gonna be pressures, there's still gonna be decisions to be made. We're still probably gonna be pushing up against, not thresholds,
Guidelines.
Financial guidelines.
financial guidelines, et cetera. So I think, it's entirely possible that a collective discussion could still happen at that point, but I don't think it needs to be, scheduled or worried about at this moment.
Okay.
My 2 cents.
Pennies are hard to come by, so I'll take your 2 cents.
I have a couple things.
Please.
Thanks. So, we welcomed, this week, we welcomed a new business, Sam Walker's, to Swampscott. It's a 400-seat restaurant. It's 10,000 square feet. It is going to be, really the beating heart of Vinton Square. It's pretty exciting. Drinks are great. The food's great. I encourage everybody to check it out during the holiday season and beyond. Certainly a really, it was pretty impressive being in there last night. I did run into Laura Spathanis, who also served on this board and served as president of Anchor Food Pantry since it was established in March of 2020 during the pandemic. So I want to send a special congratulations to her. She's still going to serve on the board, no longer as president, but I want to commend her and her board and everybody who's really volunteered and donated their time, efforts, and energies to Anchor Food Pantry. So thank you, Laura, and thank you to the board. And I just want to acknowledge two children as well. We saw some news media. When I woke up on Wednesday morning and I saw 2 local boys, River and Riley Wynand, had raised money for Anchor Food Pantry by getting out and shoveling sidewalks, driveways. They really embodied the meaning of the holidays and the holiday spirit. So I think our community is better for having River and Riley and Laura and so many other community members who have worked tirelessly. So I just wanted to say thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you, River and Riley.
Yep.
Oh. Anybody else would like to go?
Sure. I happen to agree with David. Sam Walker Tavern, amazing. We all, I think, were there last night. Fantastic. It looks beautiful. It's a welcome addition. I wish them much success. I think Swampscott is going to embrace them. I think they already have, which is great news. Kudos to Big Blue Bargains, who is doing a wonderful 10 or 12 days of giving. They've brought cookies and stuff to Town Hall, the post office, lunch for the DPW. I mean, they've knocked it out of the park. Such a generous organization and really spreading cheer all around this town. Along with
the rec department. I was at the Christmas puzzling, totally
Competition.
getting
Did you
whooped.
win?
I could not win, absolutely not. I couldn't even finish my 500-piece
Who was
puzzle.
on your team?
I had some real strong players on my team, and still, I had my glasses and all, couldn't do it. Should have taken you 4 with me. But an amazing number of programs out of Clark School and fun stuff for the kids, and just a lot happening in town. I've never seen this town so festive, I'll say, in the past month or so. Like the lobster trap Christmas tree, Santa Con up and down Humphrey Street. There's just stuff going on left and right, and it's just really nice to see and be a part of. I'm happy to wear this sweater at David's suggestion, in the memory of Don House. It's been a really nice holiday season in Swampscott, and I'm glad to be part of it. But Big Blue Bargains, they top the list for me. They've just done an extraordinary thing, so thank you for that. That's all I have.
Well, since I forgot to wear my holiday sweater, I'll give non-holiday related updates. In one, Nick, you might be able to help me out with, just wanted to bring it to people's attention that as part of, this is from the Climate Action Committee, since we were awarded being a climate leader, we, again, as I think the board knows, we have the option to pursue 2 different types of grants, $150,000 and $1 million. And we have put in for the $150,000 kind of research study grant, and that is a very, very comprehensive assessment of the opportunities at the high school. Everything from replacing the heating systems to the parking lot to canopies to everything under the sun. Catch the pun. And thank you. That is underway. I don't know the timing or anything in terms of how long or anything.
I don't know exactly, but I know that it will inform future decisions here on heating, cooling, geothermal
assessment, right.
How we can actually sequence all those things along with the parking lot and any improvements there, so.
Exactly. And then the other thing is another update on the Community Preservation Committee? Yep.
Yes.
For some reason that didn't sound right. So they met for their first meeting, and they'll be meeting again January 7th for a training, and there's lots of people from many, many different boards that are on that committee, and this is going to be a great training, and everyone from those committees, not just the representatives, is invited to participate in them to really understand the resources there and the process there. So I think that's January 7th at 7 o'clock, right? And that's at Senior Center?
Yes.
Yep. So everybody's welcome to come. And we are on track to collect $750,000 by July 1st through the assessment, and it is possible that there could be things that would come up at May town meeting. That would be kind of an acceleration in some ways, given when the committee got formed. But there will be funds available for the committee to disperse if they so choose to go down that path. So I think, anything else on that front, Diane?
No, you did a good job.
Oh, thank you, okay. So I think that's all for me.
So for me, I just want to thank Joe Dulett, Nate Beisheim, Nathan Kent, Danielle Mercerki, for once again bringing us the videos and broadcasting this meeting. And on the Christmas theme, first I want to thank you, Nick, for offering to take us out after this meeting over to Sam Walker's for their great opening drink.
It got so late though, so.
I think we can still make
I
it.
think
We're
their liquor
okay.
license goes till one, Nick, I
Their liquor
think.
license goes to one, so you'll be covered. Just bring that credit card. And, but the Christmas parade, I just want to. Drink Coke. So, but our Christmas parade again, that the police department puts on, it's always a super favorite of mine in my neighborhood. Everybody comes running out, and it's just a magnificent parade. And I'm not sure everybody understands that that parade is put on by the Swampscott Police Association, and those are all volunteers out there. Those police officers that you're seeing, they're all volunteers. Police departments that come from, Lynn was there, Salem was there, Nahant was there. I don't know.
The high school band played this year.
They were amazing.
Yep, that was the first year they played.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Santa was there. It was just
Yes, Santa's
DPW, you know, the trucks are all
Yep.
polished up and lit up. It's really great. And I just want to thank them for their hard work and really making it super festive. And I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. I will mention, Diane emailed that the next dementia training is on February 23rd in Town Hall at 3 p.m. So if community members would like to attend. And given that it is the holiday season and we spoke about all the things that bring us cheer, please knock on your neighbors' doors. Make sure that they're okay. Make sure that they're have somebody to celebrate the holiday with. That's what community is all about. And that is one thing that we do very well in Swampscott, so let's continue to do that. The holidays aren't easy for everybody. So with that, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Night.